Somerville Planning Board for Wednesday, May 27th, 2026. Please come to order. Adequate notice of this meeting as required by the Public Meeting Act has been provided. A copy of the notice specifying the date, time, and location was posted on the bulletin board outside of Borough Hall. 2, mailed, faxed, or emailed to the Courier News, and 3, given to the Clerk Administrator. This meeting is a judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to the issues the board may legally consider in reaching a decision, and the decorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. Roll call.
Chairperson Werner,
Here.
Mayor Gallagher,
Here.
Jason Kraska,
Here.
Roger Vroom,
Here.
Larry Cleveland,
Here.
Andrea Adair,
Here.
Chris Addicks,
Here.
John Maniglia,
Here.
Barry Van Horn is excused, Tim Hayes,
Here.
Bill Kill.
Please stand for the pledge. Where'd our flag go?
It's probably down at the cemetery.
All right, we're all staring at you, Gallagher. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Don't let that get to your head.
All right, I have no additional comments to anything that's on the agenda. Architectural, the ARB reviews, we are going to pull out the 56 Fieldstone, the fence, because that actually has to be an approval, not a review. The reviews are that we had 3 sidewalk cafes and 1 sign. They all met the requirements and were approved by the ARB on that and move forward. So now we have to do the 56 Fieldstone Drive fence. Anybody have any issues? They were in compliance with, we did do some clarification for them, so at the last meeting, they comply with all of those conditions. Anybody have any issues? All right, so I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the 56 Fieldstone Drive fence.
I'll second that motion.
Chairperson Werner,
Yes.
Mayor Gallagher,
Yes.
Jason Kraska,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Larry Cleveland,
Yes.
Andrea Adair,
Yes.
Chris Addicks,
Yes.
John Maniglia,
Yes.
Tim Hayes.
Yes.
All right, motion to approve minutes for May 13th.
So move.
Second.
Chairperson Werner,
Yes.
Mayor Gallagher was excused,
Abstain.
Jason Kraska,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Larry Cleveland,
Yes.
Andrea Adair,
Yes.
John Maniglia was excused, Tim Hayes,
Yes.
Bill Kill.
Yes.
All right, we have no resolutions for approval, so we'll be moving on to our hearing for our minor site plan approval for 86 North Gaston Avenue. If you'd like, gentlemen would like to come up. Just make sure that you're speaking into the microphone, sorry.
Yeah, just hit the button.
It should be red.
There you go.
Yeah, that one too.
Okay. Good evening, Chairperson Werner, Mayor Gallagher, and members of the board. I'm Philip Baroud from Baroud Law Firm, and I represent the applicant GMIB 86 LLC, which is owned solely by Antonio Rufa for this application. As you know, this is an application for minor site plan approval for my client to basically expand the existing pizzeria that's at the building on the first floor. There are 2 commercial units, and to continue the residential tenancy upstairs. By way of introduction, I'll have Mr. Rufa just address the board for a moment, and then we'll call Craig Stiers, our engineer, to testify. Also in the room is our architect, Michele Piancaso, in case there are any questions
Okay.
or anything to address.
We traditionally also swear everybody in at once, if we want to do that now.
So who else will be testifying other than the applicant's rep?
We'll have Craig Stiers and Oh, okay.
Yep, we'll swear you in too, sir.
Yeah.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give this board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Great, and we'll do the introductions when they testify. Just before we start, we'll mark for purposes of the record A1 and all supporting documentation received by the board as A1. A2 will be the proofs of service that was received by the board. PB1 will be Mr. Cole's review letter dated May 21, 2026. And P2 will be the letter from the fire marshal dated May 22nd, 2026.
Thank you.
All yours.
You can have a seat there. Just before I go on, I did want to just again mention that we did serve the notice of the hearing on the 200-foot list. We also published the notice as required in the Courier News. So, and I submitted an affidavit of,
Correct. We've marked that as A2, and the board has jurisdiction to hear the application.
thank you. Okay, and Antonio, do you want to just introduce yourself and just discuss your dream of this application?
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mayor. My name is Antonio Rufa, and the dream began 33 years ago when I left my hometown of Calabria to pursue the American dream. And since then, we established in Hillsborough, literally around the corner, and we have a business, restaurant, catering, that it's been operating since 1995. My wife and I, along with my children, we live in Hillsborough, and over the years, it was always a dream, and tonight is a dream. So thanks for being here and listening to us. The dream was to own my own establishment, and not make somebody rich, which we have. But that dream came true last year when we purchased 86 North Gaston, and it's been 9 long months, as you all can imagine. Our expertise over the years, obviously I'm a culinary graduate, so we built our clientele, based on traditions, family, food, and of course love. So this is an opportunity that it's been way too long, and basically I saw that opportunity when the building came available, and honestly, it's more than a dream. So my son is actually gave up going to school to merge the family business, and so it's not only a dream for me, but it's also something that he looks forward. We have a vision for 86 North Gaston. I see everyone in the neighborhood. I see 86 North Gaston, a place for where everybody can come, walking distance, and purchase artisan pizza, homemade prepared foods. We are going to offer a unique product that I haven't seen around. Maybe some of you have, but I'm not aware of. Not in GMO products, organic flour, imported from Italy, and unbromated and unbleached. So it's a unique product. Pizza, pastas, homemade pastas, and prepared foods is going to be our main thing. So we just asked to be considered of. It's not another pizzeria. I hear that every day, especially from my customers. We have 30 in Hillsborough, I think, 29 maybe. So, and I'm sure Somerville has just as many. But it's a unique place where children can literally walk from school. and come to have their part-time job. People can come and, enjoy a quick bite for whatever it's available, or simply just, do a takeout and, take home some of the delicatessen we're going to provide. So that's pretty much it. I thank you, and, thanks for the time.
Okay, thank you, Antonio. I would now like to, well, are there any questions for Antonio? But I know we didn't really get started, but are there any initial questions for Antonio?
Did you bring any samples?
They're in the trunk. I wasn't sure if I was allowed, so.
Not till after, not till after.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'll call Mr. Stiers to testify. So where would you like?
Steal the seat.
We're going to let him.
Good, good.
Okay, please, you're already sworn in. Just state your name and your business.
I'm still an engineer.
Thank God. Let's just put it on the record, and then the board can grant you your expert status.
Craig Stiers, President Stiers Associates, 43 West High Street in Somerville. I'm still an engineer in New Jersey, just renewed April 30th, so at least another 2 years.
That's
So-
good news. I didn't realize that was an issue, but have you testified before this board as an expert? Or
A few
an
times,
engineer?
yes.
A few times.
Just a few.
Third time. Okay.
This year?
And so the board will accept him as an
Yes.
expert in the field of engineering.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great, thank you. So, Mr. Stiers or Craig, you received the report of Michael Cole on Friday, is that right?
Yes,
And you had an opportunity to review it, and you're going to address the concerns set forth in the report
Yes.
right now?
yes.
Okay, so go ahead, and I'll help you along if needed.
Okay. I guess I'll really go through what's there now and work into the proposed. I do have a rendering, I don't know, Carrie, if you want me to mark it. It's
Different from what was submitted to the board?
it's over top of a aerial.
Yep, okay, let's mark it as A3. Just give us the title and the date.
It is entitled rendering, and it's today's date, 5/27/26.
Great, thank you.
I'm sure, as you all know, and as Anthony said, the property is known as 86 North Gaston Avenue, otherwise known as Lot 5, Block 44 on Borough's tax map. The property consists of 8,883 square feet. It contains a building that formerly housed Vinnie's 2 Pizzeria, as well as a nail salon. The parking lot, while not striped, appears to have had 9 parking spots, mainly at the north end and 3 on the easterly side. It is located at the northeast corner of the intersection of North Gaston and East Cliff Street. It is in the B4 zone and also in the Gaston Avenue redevelopment zone. Some of the things that are stipulated in that redevelopment plan, one, that the site is specifically in the redevelopment plan. Some of the items that are of note is to return unproductive and underutilized land to productive use consistent with the vision of the stakeholders. Increase property values and tax revenues by providing development that enhances the borough's economic vitality and serves the needs of the community. Supports the adjoining residential neighborhoods by encouraging boutique retailers to open with a short distance to these neighborhoods. Create an environment that invites interaction between residents, encourages outdoor living, and is aesthetically attractive on a pedestrian scale. Ensures that the new development does not adversely impact the existing residential streets by requiring traffic impact studies. Provide for a greater variety of housing opportunities and choices within the borough, bolster the surrounding residential community by adding new diverse mixture of residential dwellings, and enhance the principles of smart growth and sustainability by creating a compact, moderate density development that is pedestrian friendly and consistent with the metropolitan planning area. All of those things, I think, are specific to this property. One, we are redeveloping the property. I think bringing in, obviously there was a pizzeria there before, but, you know, bringing the pizzeria to that side of town, I know there's a couple there already, but it gets it closer to the community. So there is that walking sense. So I think what Antonio is looking to do is spot on with the redevelopment plan. As far as the proposed conditions, obviously, like he said, he's looking to renovate the existing building. He's gonna stay within the existing footprint, so there's not an expansion of the use per se. Getting rid of the nail salon, so instead of 2 uses, you have 1 use on the property. Making more efficient use of the space with the pizzeria and some ancillary things. I don't necessarily mean, with the brought up of the mini mart, I think it's more ancillary products to the pizzeria. You know, it's not like you're gonna go in there and, you know, do your grocery shopping. I think it's, those additional things are, when you're in the pizzeria getting your food, you pick up the, you know, like the oils and things like that, which are, you know, part of that mini market part of it.
Is it like your fresh pastas and things like that?
Exactly.
Okay.
That
Just
is-
want to get it clear in my head.
That's
That's
exactly
what I thought it was.
Yes. So it's, like I said, it's ancillary to when you go in there to purchase your, you know, Italian cuisine. The 2-bedroom apartment will stay the same on the second floor. And I think most importantly, the building itself has seen a better life. But at the same time, with the architecture, they're keeping the architectural style of the building, but just doing the outside over to current building materials, you know, redoing the roof, redoing the siding, windows, and things like that. So, and I think the other thing is, if you look at, I think there was a colored rendering. The rendering is actually tying in with the fire department colors pretty well. So it's, you know, it brings the 2 sides together, which is, I think, a good thing. As far as the parking lot is concerned, you know, I expect that we're gonna probably, you know, if it's not repaved, it will be spruced up. We anticipate striping similar to what it was before with the 6 parking spots along the north side. We will add a ADA space in that corner. What we have shown on the side or the easterly portion of the lot is 3 parking spots. On the plans you have, they're all 18 foot long. Mike had the comment about they should be 24. I think if we do a compromise of the middle stripe going to 24 feet and then the 2 ends still at 18, there's maneuverability for the parking space in the middle, and then the 2 end pieces, end spots can still maneuver without being 24 feet. Does that make sense, Mike?
The first one near the driveway certainly does. The last one, depending on where that trash enclosure, if it's
Yeah.
still there, Craig, I understand what you're getting at, to maximize the space. It makes
Right,
sense.
so-
I just don't know what, the trash enclosure wasn't on the plans I had, so.
Right, so what I've shown it on the plan, it's kind of hard to see, but this would be 18, this would be expanded to 24, 18, and then I believe we still have 18 feet from the back of the last spot. So I was planning on putting the trash enclosure in this spot right here. So this vehicle can still get out, this space can still maneuver through and get it, you know, exit, be able to park and exit. And the dumpster, or the trash enclosure would be similar in size, maybe 5 feet deep.
Yeah, I think, Craig, that makes sense maybe for employee parking.
Yes.
It's least desirable to make
Exactly.
that the
Same
employees'
thing.
parking, so
Yep.
the trash, whether the trash enclosure and getting in, that would be a,
Yes. Yep.
Sorry. Wouldn't those spots in the back be better for the residential? They have 3 dedicated spots along the back of the building. Those are their spots.
Well, either or, I mean, I think,
How
I don't
many
think we're
spots
gonna,
do you need for the apartment?
technically 2, and I think they're gonna be kind of a shared situation, you know, with the apartment, if the people are out during the day, those spaces would be open for the restaurant. So, you know, I mean, it could go either way. I don't think we should designate them, but I understand both your points. That would be the, you know, the cars that are there all day would be off the beaten path, I guess.
So you support the position that I didn't put the parking demand for the mini market because you're saying it's basically
Yes.
accessory, therefore not going to drive foot traffic or vehicles, therefore the 12 spaces is accurate,
Yeah, I mean.
based on the ordinance, what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I think what you've done is you've looked at it as a fast food, and I think it's probably a hybrid. So it's not necessarily a fast food, it's not necessarily retail, so where we're hitting the numbers is probably between 9 and 12. So,
The point being the mini market, or it's really takeout, it's accessory to the principal use, so we don't have to concern ourselves with parking for people going there for the takeout.
yes,
Or,
Right.
or whatever you want to call the pastas, the side dishes, or condiments that the restaurant is offering.
correct, yep. So, and I think the other thing is that it's mentioned also in the redevelopment plan that the board can choose to reduce the required parking for applications such as this as well. So, I mean, the board has the power to grant that change, I guess you could say, variance, if you want to call it that way. The next thing is, I'll end up going through your letter, but I'm kind of hitting up the points. One of the things we can do, which I did not show in the plans, is actually put in the 4 street trees. I do have them shown, so we can put one, what would be the northwest corner, what would be the southwest corner of the building, and then 2 on East Cliff Street. So I think we can, you know, maybe we get a little bit more columnar tree, but we would satisfy that. And your comment about the shade trees, I agree, it's a little tough to put those in, so.
Well-
A waiver for the shade trees.
Well, hold on one second, though. You could put a couple additional trees in that big lawn area that's wide open.
Let me keep going.
We'll go back to that.
Well, yes,
We'll
we
put a
will
pin
circle
in it.
back. Because I think we only need 2, right? So. I'll come back to you.
I'll be right here.
Again, going back to the redevelopment plan, the project itself provides for a mixed-use building with a combination of residential and retail, as the redevelopment plan states. Provides for a walkable eating food store establishment. The mixed use will allow for residents to attract and support the limited retail within the zone and the immediate area surrounding the zone. And upgrading the architectural design will integrate with the new firehouse, as I said before, with the similar colors. The architecture will maintain the style of the house, but upgrade the exterior materials to current standards. As far as the variances we're looking for, I guess ultimately it comes down to we do need a parking variance or one way or the other. Maybe the shade trees, maybe not. The parking lot location, it is what it is. It's there now, but it is in the, I guess, side and even the front yard on Gaston Avenue. The fence site, we're gonna remove the fence, install new fence, and pull it back to the front yard setback, so that would go away.
That's great.
The wall signs, we have one sign, the circular sign is more than 2 feet in both directions. So that requires a variance,
Right.
right? It can only be 2 feet or more horizontally or vertically. And since it's a circle, it's in both directions.
Kind of hard to do that with a circle.
Right.
Yes. But I think if you look at the architectural plans, it is, it fits in that location on the facade appropriately. I think the size is pretty good, whether you guys agree or not. And I think the other signs as well are appropriate. They're not overbearing. They do also have the logo on the East Cliff Street side on the doorway. and I believe that complies. That's that 35%.
Is it under 30 or 35%,
Yeah,
correct? Okay,
I
I
believe
just
it
need some,
does.
I didn't know.
We talked about the parking spaces being, the length, 2 of them being 18 feet. The parking aisle width is required to be 24, and right now we have 23 coming behind those 6 spaces. And the other thing is, we have not striped the loading zone, but we could. We could put one on the east side, or, yeah, the east side of the building. I just, you know, how much paint do we want to put on the pavement? So I think we do have a loading zone, whether we physically designate it with striping. I mean, I could really leave it to you guys. But the intent would be that the truck would come in on the east side, unload into the side of the building, and be able to exit onto Gaston Avenue. So there is space per se, but not striped. So I don't believe we need a variance.
But is that the back of the truck that's gonna be the wrong way?
I think
for the
it's
loading?
more the truck is gonna pull up alongside,
On
and
the
they would,
back of the building,
and they would just unload.
right there, and then go in on the side door.
Right.
By that walkway,
Well, yes.
off a cliff, right there.
Yeah.
So the truck would pull in, door open, that's where the loading comes in.
Correct.
What Craig is saying, that the loading's gonna occur during times when the business is not open, so we're not gonna have a blockage of the travelway. Therefore,
Yes.
we can double up the travelway with the loading zone.
Yes.
Is that-
So I do have a bit of a question on that one. So being that this backs up against the residential area, the loading and unloading between 9 and 7, those are typically quiet hours. How will the noise be handled on that, making sure there's not a bunch
The-
of ruckus?
So the hours of operation would be 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days a week. So we anticipate the deliveries would be between 9 and 11 a.m. So hopefully,
So then no deliveries from 9 PM to 9 AM. Right now, the ordinance, or it talks about 7, 9 PM to 7, make it 9 to 9, and it's quieter for the neighborhood.
Can I clear that?
Sure.
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure that I make a point. My point is, I'm a sole believer of, I go to the market myself. The times that there's going to be a truck coming in and dropping off merchandise, it'll be most likely limited, and if it is, it'll probably be somewhere around the 9:30, 10:30 time. They know, those guys know that we need the stuff, so the merchandise, so we can get ready. If we open the door at 11 and we're missing lettuce or tomatoes or whatever, that's gonna be gone. But for the most part, I've been doing it for 30 years. I go to the market. I go to Hunts Point, Fish Market, Produce Market, Restaurant Depot, and basically, I like to look at the stuff myself. I pick the items, so there won't be any truck. It'll be my own vehicle, if it makes sense. I just wanted to clarify that. I know it's an issue, and I respect that, and of course, we need to address that, but for the most part, the way I operate, that's the way it will happen, so I hope it brought some clearance, but
So a 9 AM start time would be okay with you still?
I'm sorry.
A 9 AM start of deliveries, no matter who's delivering, whether it's a supply truck or you,
Yeah,
9 AM. Right now, the way Mike wrote it up, it would be restricted from 9 PM until 7 AM.
Absolutely.
We're just saying, I think this is what.
No, I put a
Make it
2 in between, restricted in between. So Mike's language is correct. I was reading it restricted to between.
Okay,
Yeah,
no,
no, it's-
just the
what-
opposite, it'll be.
You-
but I
what I'm
think
hearing
we
is
should
good.
Make it just a little bit longer, so that there's no deliveries.
At 7 a.m.
Yeah, I think a 9, in that area specifically, I think a 9 to 9, no
unless
deliveries
somebody
allowed.
volunteers to
Yeah.
do that in those hours, because I'm not. I'm not waking up overnight
Yep.
to do so,
There you go.
but thank you.
Well, we're talking about deliveries, what about trash pickup, Craig, and recyclables and the cooking oil?
as far as the cooking oil, they'll be stored inside, and then when they will be coordinated to be picked up by an outside service. So it'll be stored inside, that they would come and dispose of properly. And then obviously the garbage and recycling would be in that area that we're gonna work on. So, I mean, I expect it to be probably like a small dumpster, not this giant thing. So it's maybe a 3-yard instead of a 5 or 10-yard.
So are you proposing a dumpster enclosure that somehow matches the facade of the building? Small?
Or matching the fencing that we would put up.
Well, yeah, my concern is with a dumpster, the bollards, the stuff that we normally discuss for durability. Typically, we put bollards in the inside, and we have the building's getting facade, matched facade in some half, just to
Yeah.
make it durable. I'm sure you're gonna say that the frequency of pickup will be as needed, so even if it's undersized, if it takes 3 pickups a week, so be it, 5, whatever it takes, you're gonna make that dumpster work for whatever,
Right.
so that you don't have a health issue.
Correct. Yep.
And, I mean, maybe jumping ahead, but the dumpster pickups, that is an issue all over town, because the dumpster pickup people really like to come at 3, 4 in the morning. And obviously, on the highway is one story, but in a residential, or butting up against a residential neighborhood, it's another. So, can you talk to that, or am I jumping ahead? For trash pickup?
But the pickup,
Yeah, the timing of it.
well, I'm sure it would have to be, I haven't reached out to, the services, but, I'm sure they, if they want the service, they're gonna have to come when I tell them to, so, and obviously it won't be 6 AM, so, if that makes sense.
Can we define that?
Yeah, and, what does everybody feel is a reasonable for,
8
What
to
do you
8.
suggest?
8 to
The
8.
hours of the business
Hey,
in the day.
Well, what's the quiet?
I mean, allow it in the morning, you gotta allow it in the morning too.
9 AM is,
I think we keep, so if you can do it where the same restrictions, no garbage pickup or dumpster removal between 9 and 9 again. Just keep it clean and then they can come after 9 AM for you.
Consider done.
All right?
Thank you.
Craig, I get the feeling you don't want a masonry enclosure for the
No.
dumpster. You're looking for
I
hardy
think-
plank, something that,
Yeah, something smaller because the dumpster itself is gonna be smaller, so we gotta maximize the efficiency of the space. If we take 6 inches and 6
I
inches, we just
understand.
lost a
So
foot.
how about a hardy plank or something that matches the facade, whatever that, I think it's T111 or T11, or there's
Yeah.
different elements of the facade, but put bollards on the inside just to protect it then?
Yeah, yep.
What kind of fencing is going
Yeah, I was
up
gonna ask that.
back there?
We got to meet this reviewer a little bit late. But we've been talking through, I would expect it'd be like similar to what it is now, but in a better condition. So it'd be like a chain link with either the slats or some kind of screening on it.
yeah, I think it
'Cause
needs to, I think it needs to be a little more sensitive to the neighborhood.
It's,
and
well,
I
it's
think
ironic,
something-
'cause immediately on the other side of the chain link fence is like a wood plank fence.
Yeah, I know,
So-
but I think, we have to kind of set the standard, and, to at the tail end say, we'll just put chain link up and put some slats in it. I don't think it'll look good. I really don't.
You want a PVC fence?
No, they don't last. They,
How about a board on board?
board on board or T111, I think what Mike is. Yeah,
Okay.
It would be nice if the color matched the building,
yeah. Yeah, the T111, you can paint any color.
right?
The one thing that it's a little funky with it, right now, it's in the top of the curb. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Craig, with regard to the signage, do we need one for the projection? I think we need the other 4, if I heard you correctly, that Mike, or other 3, I guess, that Mike identified. Do we need the wall sign projection, bottom of page 5?
The question is, does the wall signs project more than 8 inches? I didn't see the detail on the plans.
No. No. So, I think as far as like the materials and the supports and stuff like that, I think we could comply with. It's just a matter of the size and the dimensions of it.
I do believe the plans say it's dimmable, so the signage are all dimmable,
Yeah.
so that we don't have to worry about intensity. We can deal with that in the field with dimmable.
Yep.
Same comment came on, there's no site lighting shown, Craig, but you have wall lights, so we can just do a light meter and
Yep.
see what the ambient out there with the wall lights. I don't anticipate you need a freestanding light for the size of the site.
I don't
but
think so, yeah.
Just to make sure that,
Yep.
okay.
I guess we can go through Mike's letter right now. Kind of, I think we'll just talk about the ones that we haven't hit already, which I think ultimately comes down to, the big one is the ADA accessibility. And from what I'm told, this is like a rehab, and I think that you can't do it in no other way to put it, because you have 3 steps in the back coming in. There's 3 more steps inside the building if you came in the rear. If you were to go in the front door, there's 3 steps inside the building. So whether you make the parking lot to the door accessible, I don't think the building can be accessible in itself without being cost prohibitive. So I don't think that, because of that cost prohibitive portion of it, I don't think we need to comply with the ADA accessibility. I mean, we will have the parking spot, but I guess we could technically make the deliveries to them in the parking lot, but I don't think that they could get in just from the number of steps that are inside the building.
I get it. There is in the UCC code an impracticality clause. It's a
Right.
reconstruction. My belief is a reconstruction. It's existing structure. It's just, you're putting all this effort into it. If not now, it's never gonna get accessible. And you're saying accessibility because of the interior layout, not just the steps getting in, you're saying
Right.
interior.
Right.
So even if you do a switchback ramp and get one door, you're saying the door leads to nowhere.
Right.
Or because of the internal layout of the existing
Right.
structure.
Because, for example, I could definitely get the ADA from, like, the East Cliff Street side, bring that into the door, but then there's 3 steps once you're inside the doorway. And I don't think that there's any real way without, winning the lottery, that it
I
could
get
be
it.
done. And I think it's the same way, I mean, I could really let the architect speak to it, but I think the same thing would be regarding the sprinklers. So I think it's still part of the rehab portion of the code.
I understand. Regarding there's a formula on the UCC for adaptability when you reconstruct, and you have to put certain monies towards it. It's a whole formula. And what typically is done, if the accessibility can't be done, is typically it's done in the bathrooms. That's what I typically
Right.
see. The bathrooms are made ADA, but.
Which they
have-
did do. So-
Right, that's typically what's done, even though you can't get in the facility.
Yeah, that makes no sense whatsoever.
It makes no
Well, it's similar to the parking space. I mean, if you can't get, but it's there. So we're doing our part the best that we can, but
Yeah, I don't have an issue with that. I think we collectively have to think, we kind of go back to what we know instead of what's coming. And I think from a technology standpoint, having the ability to market the ADA parking and you bringing it out, there's communities that eliminate drive-through restaurants now. It's you park and you on your app, that's the only way. They don't have drive-through anymore. So I think we kind of have to start to think a little bit differently than we normally do. So I don't have an issue with that.
okay. Did the solid waste. With regards to the shade trees, Mike made the comment about the shade, buffering the exhaust for the kitchen. Ironically, the exhaust, if you look on the plans, is on the side facing East Cliff Street. So rather than putting up some kind of man-made buffer or whatever, we can take maybe a couple shade trees and put them in front of it, in that grassed area that you're talking about. So,
That's perfect.
I think that's a great idea.
so I,
And the street trees are the same place, they'll never, that'll be great.
Yeah.
They'll grow, and,
so I think what we do is the street trees, we kind of put a little bit more
Yeah.
calm there. And then the shade trees, obviously, a little more, more fluff, whatever you want to call it, spread to them. And that would act as a buffer for that exhaust. So
Both sound and visual.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
a couple of pine trees.
I think we've really addressed everything either through testimony or the miscellaneous stuff that,
Are you gonna go through the fire marshal's report as well?
well, I think that we can, yes.
All right.
But I think, again, as far as the code is concerned, if there's not a sprinkler system, I think that would address those first two comments. As far as tying in the alarm to a central station, yes, we will do all that. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, we can agree to that. So it's really just a matter of whether the sprinkler system is required, which according to the code, we don't believe it's necessary.
Oh, I don't think it is either, Craig. It's just a question of with the variances, the height and site safety, it's a mixed-use building. So
And
the
there's a fire
comment,
department right across the street.
Greg, I understand. So I don't think the fire marshal is saying it is a code, but for the relief, the height, the public safety that we've
Yeah.
discussed this
Yeah.
on different items.
Yep. But as far as tying everything in and, making it, when the alarm does go off, it will get to a central station, we will do that. So, did I miss anything?
Well, I just want to go back to the sprinkler system, just because we have been taking great pains as we go into redevelopment. And, I'll say the larger projects, this is not one of the large projects in a redevelopment area, but we are requiring that.
Yep.
And for obvious reasons. You look around the state and there's significant issues. So, I'm leaning towards that as a requirement, or a request, that be installed. I think because it is a mixed-use building, because you have ovens, because you have residents living upstairs, I think it's something that the board should consider.
So I'm going both ways on this. So
Yeah.
I know we've done this in the past with the other application on Main Street, but I kind of see it as like a case-by-case situation. So this one, to me, I feel like it's, like you said, it's not one of the bigger ones. It's smaller. There's one apartment upstairs. It's not next to another building. It seems like the applicant's actually, spending a decent amount of money improving this property. Where as long as everything's centralized and they're all interconnected, and if there's a fire, there's, an alarm that goes off upstairs, I mean, I think I'm comfortable with that. But that's my feeling.
Is there a secondary means of egress from the second floor?
Just the windows.
Just the windows?
Yes.
I think it's the
Beef that up a
windows,
little
right?
bit?
Correct? Yeah, it's the 5.4 or 5.7 square feet of the egress windows. It's the second floor. You're allowed to do the egress window.
Yeah, yeah. It's only 10-foot drop.
Oh, okay.
We're chewing on that, Craig. Stormwater management, I had some comments about roof leader and make sure they tie in to the
I
catch
actually went out there
basin.
today. They don't tie in. All of them
They're all-
come to the ground.
All right, so you're proposing just a splash block?
Yeah, so glad you brought that up. What I would suggest, the condition of the trench drain is just to eliminate it.
Right.
It's fallen in, it's about this deep, and it drains to the circular inlet. I say we just take the trench drain out and everything will drain to the circular inlet.
Do you want to pitch it a little bit, or you think the grades normally
Well,
go there?
I'll adjust the grate.
You make the
but-
grades, you're gonna make
Yeah.
the manhole, you're gonna convert it into a catch basin.
Well, it is a catch basin now, so
Okay.
it's a circular inlet. So it's a trench drain and a circular inlet, and everything, I don't know why they put it in, but it's in bad shapes. But the inlet itself, the circular inlet is
Okay.
clean, and, I looked in there today. As far as the bend in the pipe, I have no idea what it does, but it appears to work.
So do you want to tie in the roof leaders to the building, or you want to continue?
I think we leave them the way they are.
Leave them the way it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they're essentially draining into the small gardens along the building.
So your testimony is the stormwater management doesn't adversely impact the surrounding people or the public or the street, and that the on-site is adequate for the conveyance structure on site is adequate for the site.
Yes, yes.
Sanitary sewer? Do we have any documentation? I haven't seen this project hasn't been in front of the board, I don't know of ever. So the comment was, if it was replaced with PVC, wonderful, if it's not, just televise it. And if it's in bad shape, New Jersey American will replace from the road to the clean out, and from the clean out to the building would be the applicant's responsibility.
That one we, like we usually do.
We
We'll look
typically
into it.
do, we video it, send me a video, jump drive, if
Yep.
it needs work. What I'm saying is since New Jersey American has bought the sewer system, the applicant is not burdened with the connection into the road now. So it's the clean out, so it's 20 feet potentially of sanitary sewer lateral, or 30 feet, whatever the building is, from the clean out.
So, yeah, we can look into it and work it out with Mike.
From the building to the clean out?
Yeah, you televise it, and if it's televised and the crack, or there's a problem, just say at the main, that becomes an issue with New Jersey American, will replace it. If the whole line is bad, then the applicant, my understanding, would be responsible from the clean out, which is typically put between the curb and sidewalk to the building, which is less than 30 feet of pipe. So
Not
that's that's the scope of what we're talking about
Yeah.
here.
Yep.
Back just to touch base on the sprinkler again, because I go both ways. Just, I'm sure it's in there, but there's a suppression system in the kitchen, in the pizzeria, an existing one or a new one's going in, I assume?
There's an existing one, yes.
And it'll be up to code with everything, because I know it's probably been a while since that's been inspected, tested.
It was inspected and tested prior to the purchase, which is last August.
I do have a question. Is the basement gonna be occupied by office space or just material storage?
Just storage.
Like food cans,
Yeah.
flour, that kind of thing, but no offices downstairs?
Aluminum pans, stuff, yeah, just dry stuff. Thank you.
And that's storage for the commercial aspect. The residents won't have access to the basement for their storage, okay.
Greg, I had some aesthetic questions about screening. I think there's one vent. I think it's an oven vent through the roof, not the one out the side facing south. Is that vent going to be reused? Not the vent, exhaust. Is that going to be reused, the one popping up?
No.
No.
Okay, so,
That'll come out with the roof replacement?
so we're going to have the one torpedo that's existing.
Well, that's probably that's gonna be replaced.
Okay, it's going to be
Replaced
replaced in
in-
the same location.
Yeah,
Correct.
yes.
So, okay, so the sound
That's for the
data,
hood
you get me the
system.
sound data?
Yeah, and I think they have information already about it, so,
Okay.
yep. So,
So we're gonna screen that location with landscape,
landscaping,
so that'll take care of the screening of that.
yes. Yep.
Makeup air, is there a requirement for makeup air, is that gonna be for the roof, or it's gonna be at a public view? So we'll deal with that, should the board grant approval, of making sure that the stuff is visually screened, whatever it is on the roof. My concern is the noise and visual screening,
Yeah.
Craig, as you are.
Yep.
so.
Yep.
Ours too.
I'm gonna piggyback on the question about the hoods coming out, not the hoods, the exhaust. Currently, there are 4 exhausts from that kitchen system, and we're going down to 1. There's an exhaust that goes out of the roof, and then there's 2 more in front of the windows, and then there's 1 on the side. I'm just,
No, there's only one. There's only one on the side,
okay?
facing East Street, and then the other one is on the roof.
And there's 2 smaller ones on the roof on East Cliff.
Those chef hat spinners, you know,
Those are just, probably just regular vents that, attic fan.
heat vents.
It's like a heat fan, yeah, exactly. See, yeah, no, it's just a heat fan.
What does the current stack that's on the roof line facing Gaston, what does that currently serve?
Roger, I think it's the ovens. Is that true? Is it the ovens?
Oh, that's the old oven, oh, yes, that's the old
oven,
oven,
right?
yes. the old oven. Which, by the way, yes, that's the old oven, exactly.
So it won't be used now?
It will not be used.
If they remove the chimneys on the roof, how are they gonna heat the building in the furnace? Where's that gonna exhaust to?
What's that? I didn't understand.
No, I'm sorry, like, the way one of the drawings shows that the chimneys, the traditional chimneys at the top of the roof, they're both gonna be removed. The plans on the new, display don't show chimneys on the roof, but if they're gonna have a furnace in the building, how does that get vented?
Ventless, they're going to be self-vented. Designed with PVC and, it's got the motor and the.
It's gonna be direct vent, you're saying?
Direct, exactly,
Right.
thank you,
Oh,
thank you.
okay. And where is that gonna vent out to?
Whatever it's. Yeah.
Larry, what we normally do in direct vent is, we have the applicant try to, the best efforts is to put it not in public view, the vents, and to color match the facade. Paint them, this is what we've done in the past regarding the, direct vents. It's not shown in the plans.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think one of the things is they've done a, conceptual plan of the floor, of the layout. They haven't gotten MEPs involved yet, so once they bring the MEPs in, they will address all the proper venting and things like that. So that's why there's kind of, looking at each other, what we doing type of thing, so.
Just to be clear too, so, you have the existing kitchen hood coming out the side to remain, but it also shows the one on the lower roof on Gaston to remain as well. It does show that one's remaining, just the two smaller ones on the east side are being removed. Yes, it will stay, right? So, the old oven used to be a gas fire. Our ovens is going to be electric. So the requirements for the ventilation is like literally minimum. There's no heat. Like literally you could rest your face on the oven. Everything will be contained within the oven itself, being electric.
I think what the applicant's trying to say is they haven't fully designed it, and whatever vents or exhaust is needed will be screened and be in compliance with the sound ordinance. So if there's something in the roof, they're gonna screen it so it's not in public view. Anything on the side, like we talked about, the exhaust is gonna be the landscaping. And the sound's gonna deal with the sound ordinance.
Yep. Correct.
And is it, back on the used cooking well, it's gonna be on site, is there gonna be a tank in the ground? How is the used cooking well? You have some deep fryers there, at least,
So usually what happens, it gets stored inside, and it's like literally, it's a service that you call the night before, you schedule the appointment, just like a delivery, and they'll come in the next day, they'll give you a time window, and basically when the truck comes in, they'll just pump out of it's a small drum, 10 gallons, 12 gallons, and they'll just remove that from the inside, and they'll be gone. They'll give you $1 per gallon actually to recycle the oil, and they'll buy it for you or something like that. I think that's
the reason for drilling down is we've had applicants that put the grease in the dumpster enclosure and it becomes a housekeeping nightmare.
absolutely no.
So,
They'll actually give you a receipt too, so.
so keeping
In
it,
Hillsborough, it's required by the health department, so every time they come in, it's one of the things, so.
Any other questions for Mr. Stires?
would this property benefit from a reversal of the existing traffic flow? Instead of entrance off of Cliff, entrance off Gaston and exit onto Cliff, would there be any benefit to, you're gonna fix it anyway, but if you flipped it and made the entrance off of Gaston, would that be of any benefit for layout, parking, circulation?
I think I'd rather have, that's kind of the residential side. I'd rather see it coming in than the cars going out and going left and right through the neighborhoods.
Okay.
So I'd rather see,
Yeah,
if they
no.
need to come in, they're gonna come in from a residential and not pour out onto it. I'd rather pour out onto this state highway.
Yeah, and I would have just a concern on Gaston, if they're sitting there waiting to make that left-hand turn coming in. I'd rather them just come in and come right in off the residential, yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yep.
Greg, I had some comments about the sidewalk. Most of it's in good shape, some of it's cracked. So I had a comment about repairing or replacing
Will
the
do.
portions. And with a note saying during construction,
Yes, and
Whatever
then
gets-
the gap in the curb on the north end, that was a tree stump that was like 36 inches. And Antonio told me today that they actually took it out.
okay.
So we could close it up if need be, but that's the reason for the gap.
I had some comments on the light, I'm switching gears on you.
Yep, yep.
On the color temperature, which is a fancy way of saying the light colors. I think it was proposed
Yeah, I think
3,000
we'll work it out
Kelvin.
with.
I think I had recommended 3,500 or something that, because you have the lights right there, the mercury vapor, the high pressure lights right on the Gaston.
Yeah.
To me, it makes kind of sense. The light color looks very similar. We're talking about a white light versus a yellow light.
Yep.
As you go up, the light temperature becomes, oh, I know, but no. So when you say like Kelvin and all these fancy terms, we're just talking about the color of the lights. Whether-
Why don't you just say that, Mike? I don't
Because that's-
understand.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Right.
That side and that side of the table understand. We're stuck here, that's all.
Yeah, I think we've hit everything, but if there's any other questions, again,
Just a couple of things. One, to Mike's point about the lighting. It needs to be very sensitive to the neighborhood in terms of spillage and also in terms of style. You know, putting a mounted wall pack light on it, that's not, you need, I mean, the building's got a little architectural dimension to it. Show it. Little
What-
uplighting is nice, it doesn't spill out into the neighborhood.
yeah, I think what they have is the, like the vertical cans.
Yeah.
So it goes up and down.
Yeah.
So if we can make use of that and cover the parking lot, it'd be good.
And I do like the idea that the employees or the tenants park in the back because that butts up against a home and the less traffic in and out, cars jockeying, I think is much better.
Yep, agreed.
And then just the southern wall, the wall with the mushroom vent, it's a little blank. It's just a giant, large wall. And, you know, I like the idea of putting trees there to kind of buffer it and soften it a little bit. You should put 3, not 2, because it's better, balance is better with 3.
Feng Shui.
Exactly. That's another term we don't understand. So, but I don't know if there's architecturally anything you can do with that wall to soften it. I mean, that building's kind of a transition from the commercial side of Gaston into the residential side of East Cliff. And it just, to me, I'm looking at it and it's a little blank. I don't know if you can do something architecturally with it. I don't know.
Or make that third shade tree, and now maybe you can do lots of, really, it's the trees that are the focus and not the wall.
What about that logo that's gonna be over the door to the left on the wall? We make an exception.
Well, then it might be covered by the
Covered up
trees
by
you
the
would like.
trees.
So you have to pick, Larry, you want your trees or you want a sign?
No,
I just hear Larry say he didn't want trees.
I did. I want it on the record.
that's not what I said. I said if they put that sign down on the building to the left of where the 3 trees will be,
Well, if we do,
then it'll break it up.
we could do 2 trees with the logo in the middle.
But the fan is right there.
I don't think a logo is the answer, because that commercializes the neighborhood.
Yep.
What I'm trying to
Yeah.
do is actually soften the commercialized side of it, which is just a large flat wall. And I don't think we're gonna have an answer today, but I think there's something
But you put the thought
architecturally.
in their head, so.
Yeah, there's something architecturally that can be done that just softens it, so. Yeah.
Greg, I had a comment about security lighting, which I think the light site's too small for it, but we'll see. You might get enough ambient from Gaston Avenue lights that it's gonna be what it's gonna be. But if you can get me some light, should the board approve this, some light meter, just what's existing conditions
Oh,
out there.
existing? Okay.
Unless you wanna, if you're gonna factor the wall lights into the lighting, great, but you might have enough lighting out there on ambient.
Kinda like
I don't know that.
High Street, yeah.
Right.
Okay. Got it.
The only other thing is the sidewalks. If there's gonna be anything done to,
Yes, we did agree
Yep.
to that.
Okay.
So any of the,
missed that?
It's okay. You're
Any of
probably
the-
still trying to
any
figure
of
out
the
all the
cracked
big words
ones we'll
going on.
fix.
Maybe some word to describe it we didn't know.
Is there gonna be air conditioning in the building? Air conditioning in the building? Where's the pad gonna be, or the compressor?
Yes, so the MEP will design those system, most likely, come sit down, self-contained. It's a split system, yes.
So if it's split zone and you're mounting it outside, you'll screen it or do something to screen it, and we'll deal with the sound. If it's on the roof, you'll screen it with parapet or something.
I have a comprehensive condition that I've kind of put together for all the different exhausts, HVAC, that kind of thing, so let me know if that works once we get there.
Yeah, there is a spot by the back door that's kind of like a little landscaped area, so you could probably get them in there.
Anything else for him before we move on to the architecture? Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Just utilities,
Public-
Greg.
Public question.
Any upgrades to utilities? I had a
I want
comment
to go
that
to
should be
I want to do
underground.
architect first, and then we'll go.
Oh,
They are gonna do that, I didn't realize he was coming up.
Well,
I didn't think it was necessary to present the architect.
Okay,
We
that's
came all
fine.
this way, but if you have any other architectural questions, the architect is here, but I don't think we need to do a presentation. We addressed all of,
Yeah, no, that was just,
The
he was here, I
concerns.
thought you wanted him. So does the board have any questions that would relate to just strictly the architect?
No, I had the one I asked, which is the
Okay.
southern wall.
Mike had a question about the utilities. We're not changing it from the building out, so it would continue to be overhead.
so the utilities, okay. You don't have to upgrade the service. You're gonna deal with what you have.
Yep.
Okay. Regarding the facade, my understanding is you have a standing seam roof, a new asphalt, new windows, hardy plank, and where the addition is for the freezer, it's a different, it's a different style hardy plank or. Right. I'm just trying to give the color,
Yep,
because I
no,
get
got
the
it.
feeling that the architects really don't want to give this testimony. I just get the feeling that Craig's doing it, so I'll chime in.
All right, does the board have anything else? All right, Mike and Kara, we've hit all points on your report, Mike?
Just the colors. We talked about the facade colors. Does the board want to know the exact colors on?
I think one of the submission was, one was color, right?
Yeah, the renderings with the red and the gray.
Yes.
So the colors are,
So that's the,
Color.
that is the color scheme. Okay.
Well, it's a redevelopment, it would have to go to the ARB, correct? Yeah,
For final, yes.
yeah.
Okay?
So this is just preliminary, right?
Yes.
well, it's technically preliminary, it's a minor site plan, it's not a major.
Oh, so it's, yeah.
So it's preliminary and, it's not.
Because it's a minor, you're preliminary
minor,
and final
right.
together.
So with the ARB, that's gonna be part of the approval? We would have to go?
ARB will have to do a review. So.
Yeah, you don't really go anymore. You submit it, and then we look at it, and then you'll hear right back. But
Got
you
it.
don't have to attend anything, you just submit it and it
Okay.
gets reviewed.
All
Yep.
right.
Ideally, after all the penetrations are known, everything, that we can then go to the ARB.
Yep.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, but you don't have to attend anything.
Okay.
I do have another question. The 7x10 freezer that's gonna be installed in the back corner? In the walkway, is that walkway gonna get the
Take it out.
walk-in freezer?
It's gonna be walking from the inside. Yeah, it's gonna be internal.
Oh,
Larry, it's
So it's
technically.
butted up to the building, and then the entry is
in the
internal.
but it's still gonna stick out of the building.
Yeah.
So the sidewalk that's going down there, that's gonna be gone. So the sidewalk is gonna end coming down the side of the building.
Correct, well, you're gonna come up the steps from Gaston and then go into the entrance.
Right.
There's
but
no-
it-
there's
over
no-
here, Coming from the back building,
There's no walkway there.
there's no walkway
Right.
there.
No, it's on the eastern side, and basically, it's the freezer box is gonna be clad in the facade to make it look like it's an addition, but
Yes.
it's technically, it's an addition, but the addition is literally the freezer box.
Right.
Okay.
I
It's
know it says it on the
internally.
plans, I know it says it on the plans, but there's no walkway there.
Right.
Okay, that's what I misunderstood.
Yeah, there's no walkway there.
All right, I'm going to open it up to public for any comments, questions. Okay. I will,
Oh, I think he's got it.
Hi, everybody. I'm Anthony LaRosa. I'm a resident. See a few familiar faces.
can you just give your address for the record? please?
77 Lisa Terrace.
Thank you.
I think this is a great opportunity for our neighborhood. I have been hoping for somebody to open up a place like this. There's nothing quite as authentic as what he's about to put here, and I think that our community is really going to benefit. All the, everyone's heading to Main Street. Great. Gaston lost Raritan. They lost their bakery, how many, maybe 20 years ago. I think this is so cool. It's bringing it back. I think it's what we want. I don't think this is even something to contend with. Give him the parking spots that he needs. There's plenty of parking there. Cops are gonna love being over there. It's gonna be a safe zone. So I hope you guys are all in for it. I'm excited. Let's do this. Let's get it going. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public?
My name is Greg Rufa. Antonio's my dad, and this hopefully will be mine in the next couple of years. I am the new generation, so this will be hopefully mine. I'm hoping you guys all approve everything. It's been a long couple months, and I'm so eager. And when you're eager for something, you just want it, and that's what I want. This is awesome. I have so many friends, so many family members, loved ones, customers that, oh, when is this coming? When is that coming? It's coming. It's coming, and they're excited for me because I am the new generation, the new future, the light that's going to be brought into this town again on that road. So hope you guys approve it, and thank you so much for all your time as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Anybody else from the public? Okay, we'll close public session. So I just have a couple comments, and then we have one item that we still have to address because we have to finalize what the sprinkler is going to be. Okay. As for the parking, I will address that. I looked at this. This is going from basically 2 businesses down to 1. I know that there's that ancillary, but it is really going down to 1, and that parking has been sufficient for both businesses on a continuous basis. It is a pre-existing. It's not something new. It's just kind of combining and changing slightly. So from my perspective, I really don't see any need to worry or adjust the parking that's already going to be there. I think that he's met that intent. I do truly believe that this meets the intent of what we've been trying to do on the redevelopment side for that Gaston Avenue. When we wrote that plan, this is the kind of ideas that we had of revitalization and bringing to, the gentleman's comments from the neighborhood, like bringing something over there. Yes, we want people going downtown, but we also want to service all areas of the neighborhood. And I can tell you that it is definitely needed, and it's an area that, or an idea that has come that was definitely the exact type of intent that we were thinking of when we did that redevelopment plan, so thank you. Those are the only comments I have. I don't know if anybody else has any comments, any other thoughts, and then we'll move on to the items that we still have to address.
If we can just address the items, then I have just a few comments to make, if that's okay.
You always like to go last, don't you, sir?
It's my job.
I know. You always have to have last word. All right. So I know one is the sprinklers, and Kara, what's the other one?
The other one is whether or not we want them to stripe the loading
Okay.
space. That is relief, so either we grant the relief knowing that they have the space, or we tell them they have to stripe it and then relief goes back.
Okay. Let's start with the striping, because I think that's probably,
I have no issue with them not striping it.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
it
know.
doesn't
I have no
add
issue.
anything. They're gonna have to get stuff in there. It's gonna come in, and
There's no issue.
yeah, I have no issue. I think it actually will kind of crowd, sometimes striping can actually crowd the look of something, and I
makes
think
it
it
look more
would.
industrial, and we don't
Yeah.
want that on the residential side there, so.
Yeah, so I'm fine. Is everybody okay with that one?
Yeah.
Good.
All right, one down.
I'm sorry, go ahead. No,
It's okay, sir.
I was gonna
You're allowed to.
dovetail, yeah.
You can dovetail.
So in relation to that, to some degree, signage. I know in a lot of the areas, we have very industrial, highway-looking signage. And I think we need to take a look at that because this is a neighborhood. And the signage, whether it's entrance, exit, do not enter, that signage needs to be tasteful. It can't be, and I'm looking at the planner engineer on this. Now, I'm not looking at the applicant, I'm looking at right over here. It needs to fit the character of the neighborhood. We can't have metal and reflective signs all over the place. Right? That's
Is
all.
that duly noted, Mr. Planner?
Understood.
Sorry, I'll shut up now.
No, you're good. All right, sprinkler. So the options from the recommendations, I'm sorry, from the fire marshal is the NFPA 13 sprinkler in the basement and then on the first floor, and then in addition, the NFPA 13R system on the second floor, which is the residential floor. So thoughts, comments? This is where I will go last with my comments.
I have seen my fair share of kitchen suppression systems not function. So I think any opportunity that we can have to have a sprinkler system in a restaurant is a good thing. Because I've seen lots of businesses that could have been saved with their kitchen suppression system not going off. Just my 2 cents.
I have the same,
What is it? What do you have on you tonight?
doesn't want me to
They're all
speak
doing it.
anymore.
That's me. I just turned this on. They're all doing it.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I do share the same concern. I also do know how expensive a sprinkler system can be to install. I don't know if maybe there's a way we can have some kind of a limited system, at least covering over the kitchen area, rather, coming off the domestic or something, rather than a full 13R system upstairs and a full 13 system throughout the entire building. I don't know if there's a way we can come to some kind of compromise on that, because I'll agree with Roger. I've seen a lot of bad situations that could have been avoided, and with somebody sleeping upstairs, with the kitchen downstairs, I'd feel more comfortable, and I understand there's a significant expense to it, so maybe we could do a small limited system off the domestic.
And that was going to be my comment. I'd like to see some kind of compromise. I can concede the one upstairs. I can concede the one in the basement. But I do feel like we have to try to find something to improve that safety aspect. I know it's an existing building. I know it was already an existing restaurant, but we're always looking to improve. And I think at least with some kind of compromise just in that kitchen area. Anybody else on the board have any other thoughts on top of that? Yeah, do you want to take a break just so you can discuss? Yeah. That's fine. All right, we'll take 5.
Okay, all right, thank you.
As a reminder, all microphones are still on, so please.
And the cameras.
And the cameras. we'll go back into session.
Chairperson Warner,
Here.
Mayor Gallagher,
Here.
Jason Kraska,
Here.
Roger Vroom,
Here.
Larry Cleveland,
Here.
Andrea Adair, Chris Saddix,
Here.
John Manilio,
Here.
Tim Hayes,
Here.
Bill Kale.
Here.
Thank you for giving us the break. I'd like to have our architect, Patrick Oram, just present some information about our proposal of what to do in lieu of a full sprinkler system.
What we were thinking about,
Your full name
Sure.
for the record and swear, and qualify you.
okay. My name is Patrick Orem, licensed architect in the state of New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut. I've been licensed since 2008. What else? I've served on and gave testimony to various zoning boards throughout the state in the past, so,
Before those boards in the
Yes.
fields of architecture.
yes.
The board accepts that, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, go ahead.
So what we showed in the plans was a typical commercial kitchen. Going forward, we had planned to provide an all-new kitchen hood, which contains a self-contained Ansel system above the cooking appliances. The cooking appliance would be the fryer and I believe the gas-fired oven. There's a separate oven that's going to be electric, which is going to have indirect venting. But the kitchen hood with the Ansel system is self-contained over the cooking appliances. In addition to that, what we agreed to is provide some fire-rated gypsum ceiling between the residential unit above to the A2 use of the pizzeria to create that maybe a 2-hour rated fire separation between the two in lieu of providing the sprinkler system.
Thoughts from the board?
And at the same time, it's going to be monitored by fire alarm. And again, it's across the street from a fire station.
So this Ansel system is not like the old school suppression system that you've seen in older establishments?
Yeah, again, it's going to be probably prominent manufacturers, Captive Air. They make commercial kitchen hoods with the Ansel system, the Ansel tanks that are integrated into the hood to provide fire protection over the cooking appliances. All brand new.
I'll just chime in. I mean, you're going to need an Ansel system regardless.
Yeah.
That's a
It's a
requirement
commercial
for
kitchen.
code anyway, for the commercial kitchen. So, I mean, I like the idea of the 2-hour fire rating. I do have a major concern about the people upstairs, so I'll wait to see what the board has to say.
Other thoughts from the board?
To Jason's original idea, his concept or suggestion for consideration, which was just sprinkling like a domestic system in the kitchen area, which doesn't have the expense of the larger system or the more robust system. But it does provide an added level of security, safety, and as the chairwoman had pointed out, time. Because with a small sprinkler system, it does buy some time for the fire department to get there, and it buys time for the resident above, and the resident above is a big concern. I don't know that we'd be having this discussion if it was purely commercial, if there was nobody above, but with a resident above and an active commercial kitchen, it's something that we have to be concerned with. So can you talk a little bit to the idea of that compromise, which would allow for a more, a smaller domestic system?
I guess we can look into that with our fire protection engineers on how do you do a limited use sprinkler system around, in the kitchen area.
So I would just chime in on that, like and when I suggested the limited system, you know, I am talking about tapping off of like the domestic lines or whatever. I don't know what's in there right now, so I can't be too specific. But we also don't want it over, you don't put it over like grease and everything else. You let your ansel system cover that. This is more a surrounding the area, just if something happens, contain it into that and give the time to the fire department to get there. I don't want you putting, and I'm sure the fire protection engineers would, you know, obviously design for that, but I'm not suggesting anything very robust or anything.
Yeah, that's what, we don't want to get into like providing fire pumps and such for like an NFPA 13 sprinkler system
No.
would require. So, but that's something we consider with talking to the fire protection engineer on how to implement that, tapping off the domestic.
So we could say, as the applicant will work with the board's professionals and fire marshal to agree upon a limited suppression system for areas of the kitchen only?
That sounds reasonable.
Well, we're coming off this domestic and it's this PVC piping. Why not do the whole restaurant? It's just plastic pipe at that point.
Well,
Pressure wise is the only thing I would worry about, because then you start getting into fire pumps and everything. I have a little bit of a background in this. You'd end up getting into pumps and stuff once you put too many heads in. So that would be my only.
and I agree with that with Jason, that we're trying to keep this what self-contained as possible to the kitchen area and not cause, erroneous costs on top of to have a whole sprinklered system. But I do feel that, and I think it's pretty much of consensus on the board is if we can at least figure out a way within that domestic system to be able to do that in a limited area, in a limited way, I should say, in that kitchen area to keep that containment. Does buy time. It does allow a little bit, I feel a little bit better for that resident upstairs, as well as trying to save the business too. So, there's a twofold there. But I think that, Mike, I think we're looking to not solve an entire problem. We're looking to limit and mitigate the problem so that it is contained and buys time for everyone.
Can you repeat that again, Carr?
The applicant will work with the board professionals and fire marshal to design and implement a limited sprinkler system covering the kitchen area only.
Are they also talking about the fire rating ceiling buffer also?
That's, ask them.
Yeah, that's a question for them, Larry, not me.
Oh, no, I wasn't sure. Are you also thinking about still including the
Yes, yeah,
fire rated?
like a 2-hour rated fire separation between the residential use down above to the A2 pizzeria below.
And the basement will be just nothing?
No work.
Yeah.
Just an alarm. And I do just want to point out one thing for,
Yeah.
just to have it on the record from the fire marshal's report. I don't think we're looking at that number 10 there that says the changes can be made by the fire official during any on-site visits. So unless the board has any, I think that's a bit onerous
Yeah.
to just leave a blanket statement like that in there. So we'll remove number 10 out of the fire marshal's letter. I don't want that ambiguity of.
No, and that was to be clear, what Craig had gone through on 2 through 9, it's 2 through 9, and we're not conceding or including 10.
Thank you. So unless you have any other questions for Mr. Oram, I just want to bring up one more thing with Mr. Stiers, if I can have a moment,
Sure.
please? Okay, thank you. All right, this has to do with a practical situation that we're dealing with right now, that my client's dealing with. Patrick, Greg, you want to talk about this a minute?
So since they bought the building, he's gotten insurance. I'm told that if he can not replace his roof, his insurance will be canceled on June 9th. So as a condition, could we at least pull a permit to replace the roof while we're going through post-approval? That would allow him to get his roof on and keep his insurance with the bill.
I don't know that we would have any jurisdiction over that anyway.
Yeah.
I think that's a cosmetic issue.
I think under normal circumstances, that would be if they went in for a permit, which I don't even know if you need a permit, maybe for commercial you do these days to put a new roof on. But since they are here and we're imposing conditions, I can understand the concern, so we can certainly put that in there and the board can say they have no issue
Yeah, I would say
with the building department doing that. That's the better
Absolutely.
way to,
Yeah.
to frame it.
Yep.
Well, it's just the roof at this point. So that gets into insurance.
Yeah, I don't think replacing a roof, an existing roof should be a condition, ever.
No, I think to the point is he wants to be able to, if, he doesn't want the construction office to say, well, no, you have to wait. He wants
Right.
to be
Yeah,
able
you
to
have
pull
a
that
pending
first.
application that with conditions,
Got
you
it.
don't want to
Yep.
do it twice,
Got
blah,
it.
blah, blah.
Yep.
Yep.
So the insurance company has, they had a few requirements that had to be done. One moment. Well, the insurance company is not making it easy because they do want the roof replaced, but also they're talking about cleaning the kitchen exhaust system, which we're replacing under this application, and they also want grease accumulations removed from electrical outlet located in the kitchen, which is also going to be renovated as well. But
Yeah, I don't think those are issues we can deal with. I
Yeah,
think
we
you may
can't
have to
deal with
convince
those.
the insurance company that it's gonna be replaced, or if they're gonna make you do it now and then replace it, but I don't think we can do anything about that.
No. But we can put in there that we have no objection to you drawing a permit to get your roof done immediately.
thank you. We'll have Antonio go to the town to see what has to be done, see what permits we can get, or see what work we can do, so that he doesn't lose his insurance.
We'll find out, yeah. All right, any other comments, questions, concerns from the board? Go ahead, Mr. Gallagher.
Thank you. Obviously, the board has to take a vote, but what I will tell you is this is a great application. It's a property that has been vacant for many, many years. As the chairwoman had said, we have a redevelopment plan in place for that area, and this fits. It's an adaptation and a rehabilitation of an existing building, and it's a good use. It's a continuation of a pre-existing use. You've indicated that you're looking to be sensitive to the neighborhood, which I think is very, very important, which I think is fantastic. And what I really like also is that you're fulfilling your American dream. And not only that, you're going to have the ability to employ people who can then also fulfill their dreams. And I think that's fantastic. I like that. And I like that it's family. You're making your son go to work. That's a good thing. So I want to thank you for investing in Somerville. Gaston Avenue is a great street, and it's only getting better. And with a project like this, I think you'll do well. So thank you.
Okay, Kara, can you read off where we're at, please?
All right, so the relief that is now necessary is the minimum off-street parking, 12 or so are required, there's 29 provided. We did away with the street trees, we did away with the shade trees. Parking area in the rear is required. We do not need the fence height. The maximum projection of the wall sign we do not need. We need the 3 sign variances Same thing with regard to trash and recycling, and same thing with regard to oil pickups. The hours of operation will be 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days a week. Trash and recycling pickup will be as needed. The oil will be stored inside until the third-party pickup. The lights will be dimmable and may require reduction in intensity once a light test is conducted to the satisfaction of the plan. I'd like the board to find that there is that it is technically infeasible for the applicant to make the building retrofit for ADA purposes, so we've got that
Okay.
covered as well. All comments in Mike's letter, except as amended, will be covered, and all comments in the fire marshal's letter, with the exception of items 1 and 2, which I'll address later, and item 10, which will not need to be satisfied. With regard to the sprinkler system, items 1 and 2 of the fire marshal's letter, the applicant shall work with the work professionals and the fire marshal to design and implement a limited sprinkler system covering the kitchen area only, in addition to the proposed suppression mechanisms that are on the plans. We talked about fire ratings and things like that. Septic line will be televised to determine what is necessary with regard to cleaning or replacement to the satisfaction of the board engineer. The basement will only be utilized for storage for the commercial use. The rooftop, HVA system, venting, exhausts, all of those related items, either existing or to be replaced, will be installed and located to the satisfaction of the board engineer, and will also be screened and comply with all sound test requirements. The lighting style and acceptable spillage, again, will be to the satisfaction of the board engineer based on comments of the board. The color scheme with regard to signage on the renderings shall be acceptable and submitted to the ARB for review and comment. And there were comments with regard to signage specifics being complementary to the area, which again will be reviewed by the board engineer planner. And the board will indicate that it has no issue with the Borough Building Department issuing a permit for a roof replacement as necessary prior to adoption of the resolution or resolution compliance.
Perfect.
So moved.
Second.
Chairperson Warner,
Yes.
Mayor Gallagher.
Yes.
Jason Kraska,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Larry Cleveland,
Yes.
Andrea Adair. Yes. Chris Sadix.
Yes.
John Manilio,
Yes.
Tim Mays.
Yes.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
Yes. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, moving on to discussion items. Mike, stormwater.
Okay, thank you. For those who didn't get a chance, I emailed for cursory discussion, the stormwater ordinance proposed revisions from the Environmental Commission. Now, there's some typos in there, it's just as for discussion for the planning board. So if you didn't get a chance, I spent a little time with the vice chairman of the Environmental Commission, so I understand what the recommendations are. The recommendations essentially is to capture all developments over 5,000 square feet and call that a major development. That would be including roofs, that would be, capture that. There is require a stormwater maintenance report be issued to the borough annually, no annual fee, the fee was taken out. And there's an exception in there regarding rooftop, if you have a development that's all roof, that it is exempt from water quality and water quantity. So that, there's an exemption in there regarding that. And the other item is to require, during the analysis, that the sites be other than hardtop pavement in terms of runoff. So if the site would be assumed to be grass, wood, something other than, if the site was 100% paved, for whatever reason, and it qualifies as a major development, under that scenario, you would do the calcs based on grass or something other than a hardscape. The purpose for that would it would require capturing more stormwater volume that way. So those are the major comments there is about, there's a definition of redevelopment in there, but it's very similar to reconstruction, which is already in the ordinance. But the intent, I think the intent here is to really tighten up that anything that requires more than 5,000 square feet of hard surface be captured and be defined as a major development. I think that's the overall theme, and the rest of it is addressing volume and to capture that annual inspection. And there's comments on what the annual report would go to the borough engineer. There's no annual fee in there. So that's what you see in the red, is basically those points. It basically expands the definition of a major development and requires water quality if it doesn't meet the rooftop exemption for all projects. Being, right now, if you have a roof, DEP says you don't have to treat it because it's clean. Rain barrel, this thing, we always, people capture water and reuse it. This would require it if it's not exempt being a rooftop project. There's an exemption saying if you're just doing a building, no sidewalk, no loading areas, that's exempt from water quality and quantity. Other than that, you're going to have to address the rooftop runoff and water quality standards, not just the quantity standards. So that's what you're looking at in front of you for the, in a nutshell.
Sure, go ahead.
All right. So I did have time to go through all this, and it was last minute, so I apologize. I might need some clarifications. I understand the intent is to basically force everybody to do more water treatment, water collection, et cetera. And I understand they're trying to pull out that rooftop clause for somebody just doing a roof. But what would happen if they were doing their roof and at the same time they were doing, the front walkway going up to their house where they're building, the pizzeria? They're replacing the roof. This would trigger on them because they're repairing the sidewalk or the driveway. So the roof and everything that would then become, in my understanding of reading this, they would now have to go back to treating all of that because there was, that outside freezer was being added. I don't know. I support that, and I understand they were trying to come up with a thing, but just saying that if it's only a roof, it still leaves a lot, because if you're doing a whole roof, you may be doing other things as well. In the same point, you shouldn't be penalized for wanting to replace your roof and decide I'm not going to do additional repairs because.
And I'm going to add a comment on that. I think my concern too on this was, and I have a lot of comments on this that I'll get to, but specifically on this roof only, we'll use this application as an example. Many times when applications come before us, we use this opportunity to make things better. Not just the building, not just the parking, but the infrastructure surrounding it. And infrastructure isn't just stormwater. Like, we have curbs, we have, sidewalks, driveways, curb cuts. We've always made that as a part of a whole application. And I think we're dangerously close to people saying, yeah, nope, just touching the roof. I'm not going there now. I don't want to be penalized. I don't have the cost, or I don't have the expenses to be able to do extra for you. And I think that is a big disadvantage to us on the planning board. It's one of the things that we, in our master plan, it's about getting better. And I think on this one specifically, I think it really would restrain, it would really restrict. And I think it is more harmful than it is actually helpful. And again, I'll go back to my statement I made at the last meeting. There's a lot of balance when it comes to this stuff. And I think this is one example where I don't really think it benefits us by saying, all right, well, if you're going to do a roof only, you're exempt. but maybe we don't want them to just do the roof only.
That's kind of where I'm going with this. I understand their intent on it was to get away from somebody who's just replaced, but I agree with you 100%, is we just told them to fix the sidewalks. Now they would have to go back and pretend that it was a forested area and do a stormwater in different way. It becomes very exhausting and very difficult.
I had this conversation with John recently, before the meeting. Right now in the ordinance, the last 5 years, let's say it's a developed site, the last 5 years, you can use that hardscape in doing the runoff. This would eliminate, some people call it the 5-year clause elimination. So that would eliminate the 5-year. And the chairwoman asked me, can I put some numbers to this? So I apologize for this, but this just I don't know if anyone saw this, but I just cranked out the numbers today on a 10,000 square foot site. You should have, Ryan Bakey had gave hard copies of. All this is got a seal on top, and all it is the calculations. If the project right now was a building and it qualified hardscape, it's there for the last 5 years. If you use that, the bottom line is you would have a very high CN number, and the runoff would be 31,000, the volume is 31,000 gallons for a 100-year storm. Total volume, I'm not talking about the routing, which is the flow, I'm saying total volume coming off that site for a 100-year storm is 31,000. If you treat it as a grass area with a CN, which is a fancy way of saying how pervious is the soil. In Somerville, the soils are from a B to a D. Most of the soils are C, so for this iteration, I used a C with a good condition means it's grass, it's not bare soil, so it retains. So you have a CNF of 74, and that makes the runoff almost 50,000, 49,000 gallons and change. So you're looking at a swing of roughly 18,000 gallons on how you do the analysis, the difference. That is looking at a 98 CN. Everything is being identical. It's a 10,000 square foot lot, similar to the lots on South Bridge Street. I think in the SID, a lot of the lots are falling around 10,000 square feet. There might be some larger, but there's some smaller. And 10,000 is what the bulk standards are for the POR. So just to give you an idea, 10,000 isn't huge. It's basically what the other zones use, and I think it's appropriate, in my opinion. Yes, there's bigger sites. Of course, Edgewoods is acres, 7 acres with a shop, of course, 4 acres. But on all of the infill and all the small lots, the buildings, I think most of those lots are somewhere in the neighborhood of 10,000. So I just did it on a 1/4 acre lot and the runoff volumes, and you see the difference. The difference is 18,000 gallons. So with the change, the applicant would have to address that volume on site in some manner. And I was making sure these numbers are right. So John got HydroCAD out and said, "Oh, of course, Cole, 30 seconds. Yeah, I'm actually coming up with a higher number," is what he said. So this is manually doing it using TR55. It's a fancy way of saying this is what the state wants you to use. This is the right way of doing it, just to give the board some feeling of what the runoff, the volume we're talking about here. So you're looking at a runoff of 98, which is a paving, versus a soil that has silt in it. It's not the greatest soil, it's grass, and that's the difference in how you look at this project.
So how much would they need to store on site in this example?
In this example, your runoff would have to be less than existing. So if you say you'd have to match it, which it doesn't, you would have to store the 18,000 gallons. Now, you actually have to reduce the flow. As John knows, you have to reduce to 80%, so the flow would be higher, but for simplicity, assuming a 1-to-1, that volume would have to be, it's going to be detained over time. You're not storing it indefinitely, but you're gonna hold the
And then release.
runoff back, so what's coming off the site pre and post, for the purposes of here, match the same. The DEP rules actually require reduction, but this does not go with reduction, this is say 1-to-1. So for 1-to-1, you're gonna have to address the detain a significant amount of gallons, for these sites.
And so to that point again, and again, I just want clarification to understand it in case I'm not. And without going into the mathematical details of it, if, for example, I'm just picking on random places in town, if ShopRite were to, because of this routine maintenance not being a replacement, if a building or a business decided to repave their entire parking lot, that would no longer be routine maintenance, and that would fall under a redevelopment, and they would have to comply again, as if it was completely grassed beforehand?
The existing ordinance requires reconstruction. The ordinance on the books right now hooks those things. If it's not ordinary maintenance, Jason, you're into the major development.
So I guess my question is right now, because this is in the red, it says that routine maintenance does not include. So like right now, if a business wanted to repave their parking lot, that would be considered major redevelopment?
If it's a mill and overlay, it's not. There's exceptions, but if a full reconstruction or regrading of the parking lot, it would be.
What's the difference? Regrading I can understand, but the milling and the resurfacing versus replacement, if it's the same square footage, what's the difference between those two?
I think the thought process is if you're disturbing like the earth, so if you get to the actual soil, and that's
So even though
disturbance.
the net pervious or impervious is the same,
Correct.
Yeah.
it's the actual disturbance that's the issue. Okay.
It's, the hook is whether it's routine maintenance or reconstruction.
And that's kind of what I'm.
That is what the difference is.
Because it's the same thing with, it says like routine maintenance is not, sorry, I gotta go back and find it. Like if I want to replace my deck, patio, anything,
Yeah.
if I replace it, I have to comply now.
Yeah, it says routine maintenance does not include complete replacement of a roof system, deck surface, patio, pavement, or other impervious surface. So yeah, my concern on that one, again, was somebody wants to go replace their deck because it's falling apart, or, you want to replace your roof, again, like, it's not considered routine maintenance, where I don't see I'm trying to find that balance of where's the true benefit to this. I am going to make a couple other comments on some of this too, is in really doing research on this over the last month, as we've been tasked to do by council, and I can't seem to get out of my head that there is appropriate planning. Planning isn't just planning, right? So what's appropriate for us might not be appropriate for Branchburg, and I'll be honest with you, a lot of things that are appropriate in Branchburg are not appropriate in Somerville. And, one of the things that I'd like everybody to remember is we are a regional center too. And we are a regional center designation, which means that we are supposed to have smart growth. And in order to do that, we have to find balance, and how do we maintain what we have, continue to update and redevelop what we have. To be honest with you, we don't have real vacant land. We're not like a Branchburg. We're not like a Bridgewater. We're not like a Hillsborough. We're not even like down some of the southern counties where you have a lot of vacant land. And to me, yeah, vacant land, you've got 50 acres and you want to go develop that, these recommendations now, these higher recommendations, absolutely make sense to me. You have a lot of property, you have a lot of land, that's where you want to do it. And you are disturbing land that has not been developed yet. That's where it makes sense to me. I'm having a hard time in most of these things on this, going back to the forestry based and the water quality system for existing projects that you're just, you're not changing the impervious surface. You're starting, let's just say it's 100% impervious surface. You're going back to 100%. You've started there. You're improving the site. Under even the existing stormwater management, you're required to make it better than it was. So we're already going better than where it was. Even if it was a project that was 100 years ago, it's going to be better than it was. And I feel like some of these additional just aren't appropriate for Somerville in the direction that we've been going. I see this as a constraint. You know, when you look at some of these, I see it as, you know, developers, and I'm focused on the downtown area and on our redevelopment area plans, because we have redevelopment plans for a reason. We want to redevelop these areas. And my concern is with some of these, are we going to put ourselves in a position where we're going to tie everybody's hands and they say, you know what, it's too much. It's you know, yeah, if I was in Branchburg and I was working on 10 acres, sure. But in Somerville, I think we're adding too many restrictions, and I think we're adding expectations higher. I will say too, and before I forget, you know, I'm also not a fan of adding more and more and more definitions into plans where we've got definitions in 50 different plans. And let's say, I'm just going to use the example when we're talking about impervious surface. We start adding impervious surface definitions to all of our plans, and then let's say we decide as a board that we want to make a recommendation that we want impervious surface as a whole for the borough. We want to change it. We now have to remember to go into all these plans. You know, I'm a fan of your plans should direct you to a higher level, and I think something like a definition of what redevelopment is in Somerville, a definition of what impervious surface is in Somerville, that belongs up here, not in a plan like this. In each one of our redevelopment plans, we go into in-depth what redevelopment means to us and and how it is appropriate specifically even to those areas down to that minute. I don't feel it belongs in a stormwater management. We know what redevelopment is. Stormwater talks about minor and major, and then when do you have to comply? Redevelopment, for the most part, all falls into major. So, and that's kind of already stated. I have a concern with adding language to a plan that we already cover in other areas. And as for the forestry-based, you know, their comment on, they were moved away from the language, but it still says the same thing. And it says, under no circumstance shall impervious surfaces or other conditions resulting from prior development be used as the basis for establishing the pre-construction condition of a site. And I haven't changed my mind, even reading the new language. I still feel that this is something that is inappropriate for Somerville. I think we have so many other ways that we are working on mitigating stormwater and working on it in Somerville that, again, I can't get beyond the fact that I don't think we're finding that balance, and I think these restrictions, and I read from the master plan last time, I'll read from it again. I really feel that we will hurt and we will be going against what our master plan says, as we're supposed to find that balance on what is appropriate in certain places. And I will continue to compare. We are not a Hillsborough, we are not a Branchburg, and we are not a Bridgewater with all of that property. I fully 110% agree with some of these things for a 10 acre, 50 acre, 30 acre, where you're starting from zero, absolutely. But we don't have that in Somerville, and I don't think it's appropriate to put those restrictions on Somerville.
And to your point, I mean, remember, this body's going to have to review it in connection with the master plan and make
Correct.
that specific finding for, against, recommendations that the council will have to go back and take a look at. Just to your point, so everybody remembers that.
Thank you.
And I did forget to say that, yes, what the chairwoman's talking about is there's a couple of definitions that were added for redevelopment. That's what she's referring to. I failed to say that in my summary. So there's a definition of redevelopment that was added. And there's some language in there about gravel, and based on my conversation, it would be that it's not, the Environmental Commission would accept the definition. Okay, the issue with gravel is it pervious or not pervious? So there is a whole guidance that DEP gives. If it's in the ground, pacted, it's not pervious, it's a hardscape. And I originally had that language, and for simplicity, it was taken out, and they would defer to whatever the definition is from the DEP.
I think the whole definition just needs to come out, period.
I got it.
It doesn't belong in here. This isn't the place for that conversation, in my opinion.
I think going back to the first time that we had this conversation, when we discussed this prior to that, well, no, prior to even it being brought back up to the council.
Yeah.
Is that we talked about incentivizing greenscapes, we talked about finding ways for developers and homeowners to improve their properties, and then, like I said, incentivizing more green infrastructure on their end of things. I think that still, that was our recommendation the last time. I believe that is the strongest recommendation, again, going along with your concerns. I think, I was, the entire time that we were having this conversation, I was thinking of the Granites building. That would fall under this, and I'm not sure where, because it's an existing structure, and there's a structure adjacent, and there's streets, I'm not sure where they would have any kind of cistern to store the amount of runoff that would be calculated from what's going on. And that's a project that's coming down the line. It's not in front of us right now, but it's coming. I think the right way to go is education, and again, going back and talking about incentivizing, as we had said when we talked about this prior to it coming back to this board.
Yeah.
I think that looking at this with this, certainly we all want to protect our neighbors. We all want to look at ways to do that. This board has been having, and I said this to the council when this came up, this board has been having very conscientious conversations about our areas and looking at our master plan and looking at what we want to do in some of these zones where we know we have extreme flooding and how we can mitigate that and help our neighborhoods. I think that's the course that we stay on. I think we have to, we certainly can find other ways to meet and work with the Environmental Commission and find some ways to mitigate, but I think that, as you said before, this is an overreach. I think we can definitely work on incentivizing, educating, and putting out the right information out there and reaching our goals another way, but we can't stifle the good work that has occurred and that will continue to happen when we see people wanting to invest in making this borough better.
Well said. Very well said, both of you. I agree exactly with what you've said. And let's dial back, because we're talking, there's a whole lot of theory going on. Let's dial back 15 years. This borough was nearly broke. Nearly broke. And we had started a process back in 2004 of redevelopment. And we're keying on redevelopment, but this has an impact overall. And it has worked. If you're lucky enough to own a home in this town, it's either doubled or tripled in value because of strategic investments, strategic policy, and strategic decisions made at this table and the council table over the last 25 years. Implementing something that begins to put the restraints on our ability to allow reinvestment in our borough is going to have serious implications, not just on the commercial community, but on every single residential home in this borough. The whole goal of redevelopment was to begin to shift some of that tax burden back to the commercial side and away from the residential side. As soon as we stifle the ability for our economic engine to crank, guess what happens? We don't have people like that gentleman who was here, who wants to live the American dream and have his son take on a business. They'll go somewhere where they can. They're not going to come here. We currently have a stormwater plan in place that's compliant with the state regulation, correct, Mike?
That's correct.
So everything we are talking about is going over and above. We're a regional center. That means the borough recognizes, the county recognizes, and the state recognizes that we're a center for investment. And now we're looking at ways to stop that investment. And I know that's not the intent. I get it. It's not the intent. But that's the result. So I absolutely 100% agree with Roger. We started this conversation with the idea of incentives and education. We started looking at the east end of Main Street going green. We get it. That's what this body does. The long-term planning. Let's plan that long-term. Not just from the environmental perspective, from the residential perspective, from the financial perspective, We have to take all of that into consideration and make those good decisions. So, I'm done.
I am just going to add also, just for clarification too, is, because I went over this with Mike today, just so that the board understands too. These are not things that if the applicant came before us, we'll use the Granites building, and let's say this goes into place, and they come before us and they absolutely positively prove that it is impossible, we cannot grant relief. This is not something that we as a board can give them relief on. So that's where our hands become tied. And the most, I haven't talked to one person that said that these would be doable things within Somerville. And again, it's within Somerville because of the way we are, right? We're not forestry based, and any trees and woods that we have, we're trying to limit and protect, but we don't have that like others do. The other thing that I would like to also, get on record too, and it's this conflict, right? We just approved an affordable housing plan because there are state requirements, and we have to meet these requirements. I don't see that as like, so now we're in conflict. We do these things, and nobody's going to be able to help us meet our affordable housing, right? So it's not just about making it look better. We have requirements that we just said we are willing to invest in and work with developers on, and I don't know how that gets done then, right? So again, that balance, how do we do both? And the last thing is that, I can't stress enough, we're a regional center. The regional center and the intent of what the regional center is and what it means for Somerville is in our master plan. Our master plan is very clear on that we want the growth. We want smart growth. We want to be conscious of what's going to happen in the future for Somerville to continue to make it thrive. And I feel, and again, I will read it if anybody is still not clear. I'll read it again. I see these two provisions needing to be fully removed from this draft. The only recommendations that I see that we can move forward on, which is what we're already in there, is their first one of the impervious surface of 5,000 square feet or more, and the required inspection, which are already in our ordinances. Of the four, I can't, I just don't, they came with four. Two are already taken care of. Maybe they just didn't realize they were taken care of, but they're already taken care of. And listen, if the council wants to put fees on and permit fees and all this other stuff, that's a council decision. That is not a planning board decision. We meet what the requirements are for when it comes to maintenance and for inspections and annual. That's part of this stormwater management plan we have already done. Anything beyond that's a council decision. That is a policy decision if they want to start charging fees and fines. That's not our call.
I think the fees were taken out, but the report requirements were beefed up, and that's what you'll see on the end of this stormwater management. Some of those comments from the environmental was to beef up the submittal. But I do believe that the fees were all taken out. I'm referring to page 55.
So I mean, not to belabor it at all, I agree completely with Lisa with removing those two completely. I can't get behind that as well. And it's the 5,000 square foot and the annual inspection I'm fine with. The inspection, I did think that list was a bit, and again, I don't know much about some of these things, like how you would, like what they want by embankment erosion control, like how you're approving that every year, what you're supposed to, I don't know if there's a report that you give. Are you paying somebody to create these reports, or is it just certifying that the plan you submitted and that you did for your initial inspection is still compliant?
Which
Because,
we already have in here, and it says all stormwater management facilities are to be maintained by the responsible party or homeowner association in accordance with the approved maintenance plan. So there's already an approved, like we've already said, you've got to have this, you're required to maintain it.
so, that's why I go, I don't think we need the additional detailed report portion, that page 55 that Mike's talking about.
What the chairwoman is saying is you have to, for private stormwater management facilities, once they get approved, you have to record them with the county clerk's office, the maintenance plan, which is required, the language is required from DEP. What's not required is submitting this annually to the borough. So the distinction the chairwoman's saying is that these requirements are done based on the maintenance plan that's recorded with the county clerk. What's not is the submittal to the borough engineer is what we're discussing. I agree that the maintenance is in there. There's a language that has to be recorded, but right now it doesn't have to be submitted to the borough engineer on an annual basis.
So then where do those reports go? Where is the enforcement on something like this?
It's a good question, Larry. The borough has to certify annually on, let me wind that. The borough has to tell the DEP through the stormwater coordinator what major developments were approved. So you're supposed to be reporting what was done to the DEP through the coordinator on an annual basis. Now, ultimately, if the stormwater management facilities, it doesn't matter if it's a homeowner's, it doesn't really matter. Ultimately, who's responsible is the municipality for all stormwater management facilities. Whether it's recorded at the county, it says it's 15 million inches tall, it doesn't matter. That's all well and good. Ultimately, the borough, through case law, has been found responsible, even as a homeowners association, to maintain the structure.
But to that, and I'll just keep going back to this with different topics, enforcement is not the planning board's directive.
I got it.
So that is a borough thing. If they're not enforcing it, that is not on us to, write anything else up. If it's in there already,
Correct.
that's Brian's problem.
There's, yeah.
And I think, Mike, just so I'm understanding, if there is a stormwater management measure and there's an operation and maintenance plan that's prepared, that gets recorded with the county. That follows the deeds and follows the property owners. It's the property owner's responsibility in the manual, but if they don't do what they're supposed to do, it ultimately falls on the municipality, who then has to report to the state.
Correct.
That's, okay.
If there's, ultimately, this case law goes about from the 80s where a homeowners association went bankrupt. And the question is, who's maintaining these detection facilities? This is why there's case law in it, because the municipality said, it's not us, it's a homeowners association. Well, ultimately, the court ruled, guess what? Ultimately, it's the municipality. So even if you have a homeowner association, so what I'm saying, the bulk does stop with the municipality, but there's a lot of safeguards into the system so that the municipality isn't on the hook, if that answers the question. I mean, there's a lot of safeguards. They try to make it so on private stormwater facilities that you have to record it. You're supposed to be doing annual logs. There's, what you're recording now is in excess of 500 pages, 400 pages on a major. John might be able to speak to this, but the template keeps growing from the DEP on what is recorded with the county clerks. Back on what you said, the whole purpose of this, so no one can say in the future, I didn't know.
But that's already in the ordinance. We already
It's
have
already
that.
in the ordinance, it's already in the regulations, and the purpose of that is to, if properties change hand, Larry, no one knows that when you do a title search, it comes up what
Yeah.
you're supposed to be doing and what the facility is, who's responsible. It's very, very detailed to try to address maintenance. Based on the maintenance report, the property owner, the developer is responsible based on what's recording. That's true. But ultimately, I'm just saying, if it all goes to, down the drain, the borough gets sucked into it. But the borough's gonna say, you didn't follow the maintenance plan that's recorded, which is so true. So it's not, don't think the borough's by itself, it's not. But it's the last resort.
And I think really what it comes down to, and I think Jason and Mike Bill said this, it is not our responsibility to instill fines, penalties. That is not our purview. If the council so deems that they would like to move that forward, they absolutely can. Doesn't, in my opinion, it does not belong in our stormwater management plan. Our plan is the basis of what is required. If the borough council decides that they would like to go further than that, that falls on the borough council. Anybody have any other comments, questions?
The Environment Commission is doing what they think is right.
Absolutely.
They're presenting all sides. The Environmental Commission are not the bad guys.
Nobody's saying they are.
No, I'm just making a statement
Yep.
that they do hard work, they do the best they can, and they're presenting all sides. That's what they're
Yes.
doing. It's not an evil
Nope.
plan or anything like that. That's not.
And that's why I said what I said, Larry. If there's other conditions in Somerville, I absolutely 110% agree with them. It's just not appropriate for Somerville. You know,
I wanted to thank them for the
Yeah.
job they're doing, and you guys should too.
we do thank them. We thanked them last time, and we're going to thank them again, you know? But
They want the participation. They want to be able to give their 2 cents. And they've been working with Mike, and the cooperation level has been better. I think it's been better across the board. Thank you.
any other comments? All right, so I'd like to make, somebody to make a motion. What I would like is that our recommendation back to council for next council meeting be that our recommendation is to go no further with the water quality requirement, as well as the, going back to the wooded, right? And that 1 and 2, I'm looking at the original because I know that they changed all the language, but it still comes down to 1, 2, 3, 4. They got some specific in some areas. And that the regulated of the impervious surface over 5,000 was already there, doesn't need to be changed. And that the issue as it relates to following a maintenance plan and ensuring that you have that recorded somewhere is already done. It's already in our plan. I'm not in favor of us making recommendations as to whether they should instill fees or anything. I think that really needs to be a conversation amongst the council themselves. That's not our purview. But I feel, you know, most of that draft, I can't really see moving forward with any of the red line because we already have existing as we needed. And if anybody disagrees, please, but that would be where I'm asking for a motion on.
So I will move forward and make that motion, and duly noted to Larry, I do want to thank the Environmental Commission. It is a lot of work, and it's a lot of good work, and they have their lane of, you know, looking at it, and they do a very detailed job. So I do thank them. They're not here tonight, but they'll watch.
That's why I'm here.
But I will make that motion, as Lisa said, to move it back to the council with the recommendation that those don't need to be adjusted.
I'll second that motion.
Chairperson Warner,
Yes.
Mayor Gallagher.
Yes.
Jason Kraska,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Larry Cleveland,
Abstain.
Andrea Dare.
Yes.
Chris Addicks.
Yes.
John Manilio,
Yes.
Tim Hayes,
Yes.
Bill Kill.
Yes.
All right, area need, ECBD. Mike, so you had sent out the updated Schedule B, right?
Yes, I haven't received comments yet from the boards on uses. I know it's coming. You didn't get a schedule? Did you send me? Oh, yeah. What I did is, on Schedule B, I took out the overlays, and I created a flood FHZ, which I'm saying stands for Flood Hazard Zone. And I have as open space and parking. Those are for the properties. And I say see text because this is going to need text, because we're not saying you can't maintain your dwelling or the building that's in the flood hazard zone, just that the ultimate goal is open space or parking. And I don't know how to do that in the table without the table becoming unbelievably wordy. I changed the stories to match what we discussed, so it's all 3 stories except for the 2 zones, which are 2.5. And if the board likes, I can start working on the text, but I don't know how to get that text into a schedule.
No, I agree with you. I was looking at it when you said see text, and I'm like, huh? And then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, that might be 3 pages, so it doesn't belong in there.
I'm not suggesting, I'm sure the board is not, that you can't live in that dwelling.
Right.
For example, Park Avenue. I'm on Park Avenue. Obviously, you can maintain your own structure. Just because it says parks and open space doesn't mean the borough's never done this. It's not gonna condemn your property or make it that you can't do anything without going to a board. That's not the intent. But I don't, saying that in a schedule and a table,
So just so you're clear here, do you want parks or parking, like vehicles parking along the flood zone, or what are you saying there?
the
Oh,
parking
yeah,
is
you
for
did,
parking.
you did put parking.
Yeah, I'm saying, the TDR right now has stated that you could park in the flood hazard zone. You could, the carrot was to put the high density and the not up and have parking or open space in the flood hazard. So that reflects parking, which is vehicle parking, which is allowed. And again, that's all comments from the board members. Maybe parking's not allowed, but right now DEP does allow it with placarding, with noticing. But you're allowed to park in the flood hazard. So right now, it's down, the intent on the red was for parking of vehicles or open space. Subject to your comments.
Yeah, go ahead, if you want to go first. So the parking, that was the original intent behind the TDR, the Transfer of Development Rights. And the idea was to shift the burden off of government in funding the acquisition of these properties and shifting it to the private sector. And the intent was that that whole area, I shouldn't say the whole area, a portion of that East Main Street area would be redeveloped, and they would need access to parking. So rather than building decks, we could encourage the acquisition of that property and turn that into parking availability, which then cars can move, they can leave. But if we're going down the path of green, I agree. It starts to look, open space or parking. It's either grass or macadam. It kind of doesn't wash. It doesn't balance. So I know where Bill is going with that, and I agree. I mean, let's strike the parking.
Yeah.
If
Okay.
we're going green, go green, baby.
And I will say, I was going to add to that, Mayor, that I think the consensus that we've had on the board is that we are also trying to use this to mitigate some flooding issues, and adding or allowing impervious surfaces down there is kind of defeating what we're trying to do in that area. So, I mean, I'm in favor. I think the parking needs to be removed, and that it's just open space or parks.
Unless it's a verb for park.
It's also impossible to maintain it. You pave it, it's gonna get flooded.
Yes, and again, the reason DEP allows it is because you remove the vehicles, and there's really no harm, no foul to the parking lot, right? Except for the fact of our intent of why we want to have this as that buffer to allow for, that flooding that you're not going to avoid along that greenway, that you're not going to have structures or anything that are going to be in the way, and allow for as much pervious surface.
So the one thing I will just throw a wrench in, because I like to be difficult, is if we're gonna, long-range plan, we're looking to make all that green, parkland, we might need some parking for the people who want to go to the park.
Yeah, that could be a permitted accessory use.
There we go.
There you go.
Perfect. And then just to follow up on the C text, can we just put in like an asterisk and just say existing uses could remain, or as long as they're not expanded?
We don't, in any of the other zones when we have it, we don't kick people out and say it has to be a hotel, so.
It just falls to the baseline.
Yeah.
Well, my question is, when we had the flood committee, we talked about in those zones that there's a certain amount that it is, once it has reached a certain amount of destruction, it is then considered new construction if you intend to refurbish. So is that something that we have to capture in this? Because I know that there was a lot of discussion about some of the proposed R zones that had been floated to council. Would we have to capture that language? Because, again, yes, it's existing, but if it's to a certain point where you basically have to rebuild an entire place, then does that fall under that Zone AE, different requirements from the DEP?
Can I make a comment on that, Mike, before you
Yeah.
chime in? So I agree with you, and I think, but I'm not sure that that purview of the details belong here, or does that really belong at the council level? Because it's a policy statement on how, whether you would be issuing and allowing for storm improvements, right? And where does that start and begin? Because I agree with you, right? If I think, and if it does belong here, then we need to think about that, right? Because any flooding on their first floor, they're gonna need permits to be able to fix things. Do we say no permits in this area? And I'm just gonna go to extreme. Once you have flooding into your first floor, no permits are issued. And is that how we start to do that transition? Or to your point, is it, there's another threshold that has to be met, and that's where we say, and again, I think that becomes more of a policy decision versus us saying, this is what we feel. And if I'm wrong, Mike, if it does belong in here, I got no problem with it. I just don't want to overstep the authority of the board, right, in what our redevelopment plan says and what we're saying.
Yeah, how I see it is, if the board's comfortable with flood hazard zone, to Roger's point, that would be, my vision is to be, that zone would be expanded throughout the whole flood hazard area. That's what the committee wanted.
Yes.
Flood hazard zone.
We're in favor of that, but I think what we're trying to figure out is, there are existing homes there, right? We're not doing eminent domain, we're not saying you have to get out. But on the next flood, because, you know, I know everybody can throw tomatoes at me, but it's gonna happen, right? When it happens and they now have damage to their homes, what is that threshold to say it's triggered, I'm sorry, it needs to turn into open space?
And I agree, Lisa. I think that belongs as something in code enforcement. Maybe we should look, I know the Shore did this, down Point Pleasant and Manasquan and all that. If you hit a certain level, and I want to say it's a percentage of the cost of the property, you know, so if the house is worth $100,000, maybe it's 10%, over 10%. I forget exactly how, but maybe we look at that and send that up to council for a recommendation. Because I do agree with Roger. I mean, at some point,
There is
Yeah.
a flood hazard.
leaving one
ordinance.
wall up.
There's already on the books a flood hazard ordinance that it would be, I think, helpful for the board, planning board members.
Yes, I think that
If you
is what we're
have
looking for.
that, we obviously don't reinvent the wheel. There's a DEP required flood hazard ordinance and a flood hazard officer right now, who's the construction official, that has to enforce. So I can get that ordinance to the planning board members.
And then that's where we would make, if we feel it needs to be beefed up, that's where we'd make those recommendations.
And the flood hazard, and then here, we'll have the text on, not the flood hazard ordinance, but,
Right. What the vision is, here's the vision,
right,
and that's what I was trying to separate out. Where does that belong? You know, because we just talked about we don't like certain specifics in plans. I think this became too more policy-oriented in a plan versus the vision we see. And, you know, the plan gives the vision, and those ordinances and ordinances are supposed to back up that plan, and that's, okay, so that's perfect, if you could get us that.
I'll get the flood hazard, and I'll start working on the language that doesn't duplicate the flood hazard ordinance. That's one thing, in my opinion. Property maintenance, the stuff that says that you can live in the structure, it's not gonna be condemned, I think has to be clear in the plan. The flood hazard ordinance will take care of the inundations, all those things. If that's good, if that works for the board.
Yeah, and the one last thing, I still haven't gotten the overlay map that had the lots and blocks on it, or block and lot, on it, so that we can because we do need to dictate that, right? What is in that flood hazard zone, you know? So I'm still working on that.
Right.
Once I have that, then we can clean up that language. I know the Schedule A we need to, if everybody can get comments to Mike by next week, next meeting, I'm sorry, so that we can review those. Because I see light at the end of the tunnel on the CCBD, and I want to keep pushing it along. Mike, from your perspective, anything in the existing, because I know you still have to give us your, the area need report, right? But on the existing as it is, what else do we need to hit on? I was starting to go through over the last few weeks, the language inside of it, like, listen, all the overlays have to be taken out. We're going back to base zoning. I didn't really see much of a change in what we saw in the vision for those base zonings because the new schedules will take care of that. And everything else for that area, I don't really think we're changing that. We're just readjusting where and how we see that, right? Like, you know, how we see that coming to fruition. So I just want to.
If we get the stories down to what the vision is, 3 stories, and we have the uses somewhat defined, then it becomes what are the appropriate bulk standards for what the vision is for the use.
Yeah.
Obviously, the bulk standards for an 8-story building is different from a 3-story building.
Correct.
So I think the bulk standards in Schedule B should reflect the visioning on the stories and the intensity of uses.
But I think we had said, and that's why I'm saying, if
Yeah.
everybody could please get your comments, go through that Schedule A, look at the base zoning, and you don't have to worry about the flood hazard area because basically the only uses allowed is going to be parks and open space. So it's the other ones of what we see and what you don't see in certain areas, and you know, because there are certain areas that I see, and we might need to also. I did look at. I think there was one zone area where I was like, I think I kind of want to change that to another base zone. So just because I'd see more residential and nothing else allowed, but in another area, I'm like, I could see a little bit more of a mix. So if you see that too, that's also going to go into your permitted uses because I really do feel like we're in the home stretch. I'd like to get this done in the next few meetings because the area need. Your area need, I would like to have that, if that's gonna be a recommendation, that's the final piece that I'd like this to go up to council as a package, because those we're gonna have to look at where we see that base zoning too, if there's adjustments there, if that's gonna be brought into it.
I did have one question about the park areas. Are we circumventing the homeowners' insurance companies or the homeowners' right to rebuild if they have the money to do it, or if their insurance company's gonna
It's not really about circumventing, it's about, what is that level or threshold where we say it's not appropriate anymore?
Larry, I'll get you the flood hazard
Well,
ordinance.
we can do that
Yeah,
without
That's-
respects to, national flood insurance, like the things they did in Manville.
Yeah.
And the Lost Valley, it seemed to be in conjunction with. the
Blue
feds and
Acres
state
and-
Blue Acres, so the money that they were getting to say.
That wouldn't stop that, because anytime you get either a FEMA grant or Blue Acres money from DEP, either one of them, you're required to turn that property, if you're gonna do, most of them are doing acquisitions. You're required to turn that property into open space. So it doesn't restrict that. It's the perfect intent of what we're actually looking for. Correct, it does. Where we could restrict, right, and you've seen municipalities, and again, I'm not saying you should or we should, I'm saying what you could say is, we're not gonna allow elevations. That you can do an acquisition and you can go through that process and apply for that grant and try to get that acquisition, and municipality can help. Somerset County is finally doing 11 properties that, throughout the county, we're getting there.
Yeah, there's one on Davenport Street, that's going into that.
No, not on the one we have.
No, that one's already
That's
done.
different, that one's
Yeah,
already done.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
This is 5 years in the works.
yes.
Um,
Yeah.
Different one than that.
Yeah, different. But the point being is, most municipalities are moving towards, and the county will only support, as of right now, will only support acquisitions. They will not support elevations.
Lisa, just off track for a sec, if you're planning and we're talking about the recommendations for the area in need, we'll need a public hearing on that.
Yes, that's why I'm trying to, but I really would like it to be one kind of package, so even if we're done with this portion, then we can go through those steps, and then as a complete council to see it, because I think you kind of need to see it as a complete package once it goes up there.
Okay, just
But
wanted
yeah, no, thank you for that reminder, yeah. Anybody have anything else on ECBD?
Is the board happy with what FHZ,
Yeah.
that designation? Anybody, works for everyone?
Keep it simple. I understood the words you came out of your mouth, FHZ, flood hazard zone.
Okay.
Perfect. No interpretation needed. All right, master plan element review. Is that final for the historic?
Historic was revised to eliminate appendices. There's a strike through, and a couple of the elements were missing, so I put the language in a couple of elements, if that language works for everyone. And obviously, there's attachments that go with this. The reference, with the material that's been taken out has to be in an attachment. That was the intent, that we still provide that information, just not in the element. So the comments were to, let me find it. Thank you.
All the addresses and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. All it, yes. The change, and it's in strike through, is in page 10, is just to take out the specifics, to put that in an addendum, which I do was the chairwoman's comment last meeting, and just come up to say, on the very end, and it's in red, just the relationship from the historic element to the community facility and stormwater management. So if everybody's comfortable with that, I'll take those out. I'll come up with the addendum for the information that we wanted as addendum, and the historic element is done.
Yes.
On the the stormwater management one, is it possible just to like rework that a tad? In
Absolutely.
general, I agree with it, but when you read it, I kind of struggle to see what, how it ties back to the historic element, which is what I think the intro paragraph of that section says it's supposed to do. It's more of a edit spice, a wholesale change of it.
It basically says, Bill, that the stormwater management plan will help preserve the historic structures from mitigating floods. No, the 3 sentences before is just basically the feel-good stuff. Right, I get it. You want me to take some of it out or just rewrite it so it's better?
Yeah, slap it in Chat GPT and make it sound a little better. It doesn't. The first sentence doesn't make sense at all.
Okay.
I think the last sentence is the crux.
Yes, that's what I just
Yeah,
read.
that's what you're saying.
I like it.
Yep.
Sold.
Sounds good.
Next.
Well, just to clarify, are we gonna see, you're just gonna take that and we're done? Or do we need to see another draft next meeting?
You can see it when we put it it's up to the board. I can take it out, make the changes
Just,
on the storm.
I'd recommend just email. I don't think we need to print it every
Correct.
2 weeks.
I think you can just send us a final.
Okay.
And as of right now, unless I hear comments, we're just gonna move forward with that final. Perfect.
So I'll revise it, a new date, so everybody knows it, and I'll just get an email from Ryan, I'll email it to everyone. And hopefully, I'm not doing well with Bill over here today. Cole, do you mean parking? Well, yes, I did. Oh, no, I don't. I guess not.
Okay, tree ordinance. Looks like we have one more that we will be able to move forward to Borough Council. Thoughts, comments?
I read through it, and Mike, I'm going to say again, good job in catching everything we said. I'm going to defer on the actual tree stuff because I don't know what these trees are. So I'm just going to assume that environmental and everybody does. So,
They did chime in on this, and they worked with.
yep. So
Yeah, I clarified it. The green is evergreen trees. John had comments on the locust and to eliminate ash trees because of disease and box elders. That is in Appendix A. It's highlighted, those trees to be taken out. Also, the Environmental Commission indicated in an email that the trees in the SID can be used outside. So I initially started doing the language saying that. I said, why don't you just put the trees in the other, so you don't have to have the language. So you'll see, all I did was add the trees to the list, Appendix C, which is the trees outside of the SID.
Those are the highlighted ones there in yellow?
Yeah, you'll see, the ones in yellow I'm gonna get to, Chris, thank you.
Okay, all right, gotcha.
The Environmental Commission felt that large trees, at the appropriate locations is appropriate. That's not the good sentence. Large trees can be appropriate, not in utility lines. The comments from the board was, do we want an 80-foot potential tree between the sidewalk and the curb? Those are the highlighted trees that I need. The Environmental Commission saying at the right locations, they're good. The concern from some of the board members in the last meeting was, no, not so good, because it heaves the sidewalk and.
Yeah, it wasn't just about the wires. I think the wires was the perfect place to start, but these larger trees as a street tree, I think cause more damage along our sidewalks, pavement, pavers, wherever it is. I think that's where, right place, right right tree, right place, I think they say. Street trees should be smaller, they should be under, I think we just follow those guidelines from PSE&G on the height, and then remove anything above that, and then there's plenty of other locations to put those trees as shade trees.
So that was the question on the highlight, Chris, is whether those trees should remain or taken out because of the size of the trees. That's the question.
I agree with Lisa's statement.
Okay, the second one is, I gave you the PSC&G right place, which is a list of 3 tables. Now, do you reference the list as the chairwoman has indicated, or do you include that list? It's substantial, and some of the trees may be evasive. I started going through it, but some of these trees, I don't know if we just reference it.
I think we were in consensus last time about more of a height. I think we have the tree list from the Environmental Commission, and I think everything, in my opinion, what I'm recommending and I feel we should do is, on that street tree side, anything over 25 feet is removed, and it's allowed as a shade tree, but not as a street tree.
Say that again, Lisa.
So PSE&G, the height was what, 25 feet?
Yeah, there was
Yes.
small trees, there was a whole list that.
25 feet or less.
For a street tree, I think that's what we restrict. I think anything over that 25, I'd even do that 30, because you could have a good chance that it's not gonna hit that 25, 30. They be removed, they're appropriate as shade trees, but not as street trees.
So are you saying put the trees in the list, or just reference the trees saying the trees from PSC&G can be?
No, I'm taking, I don't think we use the PSE&G list. We have a list already of what,
Okay.
right? Use that, so street trees, period. I want shade trees, street trees, and street trees the shade trees can have all trees. But the street tree only list should be nothing above 25 to 30 feet. Anybody disagree?
There are some pin oaks on certain streets, I think on South Bridge, that, and probably a few other places too, that are very large. The sidewalks are perfect. So it'd be interesting to see, why do they work in some places and not others? And
So I hear you. My fear is now we're going to, do we need a map to say where things are, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's why we're trying to say, moving forward, because I don't disagree with you, but where do we draw that line to say so that it's not so difficult to decide, okay, it's okay here, but it's not okay here, and then it's okay here, and it's not okay there?
you're right, because there's a million variables. I mean, sometimes the strip is this wide. Obviously, you can't put a pin oak in there. Other times, you've got 10 feet, and then at that point, right, you could put a pin oak in there, but you can't come up with every one of those scenarios.
Right.
So when I look at this, I agree that the ones that are highlighted, those should be removed. Those are monster trees. But Lisa, to your idea, and I hate throwing a wrench in the works, it really reduces the list to only a handful of trees if we do a 30-foot marker on that. So it's a bit of a catch-22. I agree in the direction you're going. I was just looking at the list, I'm like, oh, that leaves like.
Well, this comes back to the conversation that we had last time, which is we're going to put beautiful trees up, and then PSC&G is going to have to cut them down in certain spots. So there are trees listed here. I think that part of the conversation that we had was giving this list to the Environmental Commission to have them also vet and see if there's more that they can add based on PSC&G's list, obviously, and remove the ones that are invasive and that do not, are non-native. But I think that's the direction that we should head. It would bolster our list, certainly, but I think keeping manageable trees in those common areas whether it's underneath power lines or not, to the chairwoman's point, it eliminates then having to decide, is that an okay tree there? It's just, this is what we want to see on our street trees, this is what you can do on your shade trees, and I think that keeping it simple, the old KISS method, I think is perfect.
And to your point, 30 feet, non-invasive, put together that list.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's a list. Yeah, so.
And the PSC&G list was emailed to the Environmental Commission on Thursday, so they just got it before the holiday. That's fine.
So Mike, do we want to send this back for one last of saying, hey, listen, anything above 25, 30 feet, we're taking off, we're looking for you to add? Or are we just saying, I mean,
Can we just say, instead of saying exactly what trees, can we kind of just say, it has to be a non-invasive, street trees? Here's some recommendations,
go.
but
I like that.
but non-invasive, blah, 30
and
feet.
maybe we say, here are some recommendations. Wait a minute, Larry. Maybe we say, here are some recommendations, and then come up with the language. I agree. I think, if it's a non-invasive, why are we not allowing it?
I agree with what was just said, and what we can do is on the Environmental Commission website, have a list of suggested trees that folks can refer to. And let's just limit it to what Jason just said. Just give the 25 to 30 feet, non-invasive, blah, blah, and list those items, and we're done.
Because then we don't, it could be referenced their website or whatever, and then we don't have to change our ordinance every time, they all, not they, the Environmental Commission is like, oh, this tree's no longer good anymore. We have to now change the ordinance to remove it. They could just reference it, and then that makes it a lot easier on
Yeah.
everybody's
And getting
back
into the
end.
landscaping design business is not I don't think it's a position of the planning board or the borough council.
Yeah. All right.
The rest of it I like.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm getting there. So we're gonna eliminate Appendix A, B, and C and make a simple list. And we're gonna reference everything else. Like, I had a comment here that invasive trees, I just said, go off the website because they're always changing the list of invasive trees. So we're, okay.
Most of the towns are doing it that way. to
Yeah,
make it
so-
easier.
Yep.
Going back, I took the definitions out based on the last conversation. Bill said, what about these definitions? The comment was, only leave the definitions which are somewhat relevant to what's being said. So you have the strike through. So a lot of the definitions were taken out. Street trees were left in. You can see what was left in.
Yep.
I also added points 12 and 13 in the red, which is the language out of the current ordinance, which I think needs to be in there because I missed it on saying the 50-foot. It refers back to the design standards, but it says
Yes.
50 feet, but this should be independent. Why this came up on we have design standards in the land use ordinance. When we get there, the land use ordinance right now says it's applicable for subdivisions and site plans. Therefore, you can make an argument on 1 and 2 family homes that the whole design standards are not applicable, which obviously I don't think is the intent. This shade tree ordinance covers everyone and says 50 feet, regardless if it's a site plan or not, just so the board knows. If you're 1 and 2 families, the board typically doesn't see it here because they're defined by the municipal land use as being site plan exempt. So the planning board typically hears site plans, redevelopments. The reason you hear the fences because the conditional uses. That was the workaround. So I put 12 and 13 back in, saying you have the 50 foot. So if you're doing a tear down a brand new house, tear down, in my opinion, the 50-foot trees would be applicable it would be a zoning officer or plot plan, it wouldn't be in front of a board. So that's why you see 12 and 13, it specifies the 50 feet so that you don't have to rely on the design standards. So you have that language, and I got enough to adjust Appendix A, B, and C to what we talk about, reference the invasive species, reference everything else, and we're gonna get feedback on, and there's 25 trees. Right now that we have the trees under 30 feet, but the list is gonna be relatively sparse, like maybe 6 or 7 trees.
We're gonna remove the list.
We're gonna remove a whole list, not even the 25 trees?
Are we just gonna reference and say
Yeah.
non-invasive trees under recommendations to be
Okay.
Yeah.
found at wherever, I don't wanna speak for the environmental where they want it, but.
Well,
Okay.
that place makes sense to put it on the website there, refer there.
Yeah.
So we're gonna
This is the
refer to
way.
the street trees to be used and shade trees, please see, and I'll
Yep.
give a hyperlink to the environmental.
But I do think it should be a general statement of they should be in here, it should say non-invasive.
I'll keep the language in here. Sorry for being a little dense tonight, I'm getting a little tired.
Yeah, no, it's getting late.
Yeah.
But I will put that note, that non-invasive, I'll hyperlink that. This should be on the list, and I'll hyperlink it to the Environmental Commission for the exact trees to be used, given the shade and street trees. Okay.
And is that, with that, is it ready to go to Borough Council?
Yes, I can get those changes. I don't know if the, similar to historic element, should I circulate the changes?
Yeah, if you can
or-
just send it out, and then if there's no comments, then
That'll go up.
it goes up.
Well, I think we have to, Kara, do we have to do a vote on making those recommendations up?
I would, if we have ones that are going right to council and you're not seeing them again. If you're looking
So-
to see an email, like with the last one, you want to see an email version, not necessarily printed, we could do that at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's, if we're waiting and we're asking to see a version, it's not going to the next council
Correct.
meeting, so.
Yeah.
I would just like to see that wording
All
of
right,
the
we're just gonna wait
recommendation
until the
of
next
where it's
meeting.
pointing to the,
Okay.
And then
I hate delaying things, sorry.
those two
Yeah.
up.
No, but I wanted that to be clear, that, we can't say we want to see it and it's still going to the next council meeting, yeah.
Correct, exactly.
Okay.
Okay.
The only things I have left is, with the master plan, the areas we have left are community facilities, the and the SID overview. Community facilities next.
We can certainly do that.
I want to keep this moving. All right, community facilities, everybody has it. If you don't have it, please email Ryan, and we'll get you another copy, but community facilities is next.
It's great.
And that is all I have for that. All right, I'm going to open up the meeting to the public for comment for anything not on tonight's agenda. Hearing none, I'll close public session. And no motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Longest meeting we've had in a long time.
Whoa.